A full year of competitive play in the HGC, and it all comes down to this. We're here the final day of Blizzcon at the Anaheim Convention Center. You guys feeling all right out there? Fantastic. Well, the story continues. It's Korea versus Europe, the most dominant team in HGC history. MVP Black versus the current reigning world champions. Who's gonna take it all? That is the story of right now. Let's head over to our desk with Kylaris and the analysts to get this kicked off right.
Thank you very much, Kevin. That's right. But let's be honest, forget fancy intros, forget convention, and forget everything that happened before today. Because what we are about to begin here is the single most important series in Heroes esports history. It's World Champ going up against World Champ. It's the best from the West going up against the best from the East. To my left-hand side, I am joined by Wolf, we have Jayhow, and we have Grubby to get things going. Let's check in with the bracket to see exactly how we got here, ladies and gentlemen, as we've made it all the way to the grand final. Up to the top, MVP Black have been victorious, 3-0 against Team Expert. Down to the bottom, Fnatic have been victorious, 3-0 going up against Ballistics. These two teams, these two titans of our scene, Grubby, are about to clash in an ultimate best of 5.
Unmatched by any of the other teams here with big scores in those semifinals. It's the dream finals that we have all been hoping for.
Ever since we had the Spring Global Championship just last year in 2016, nobody thought another team could be like MVP Black, going undefeated throughout the entire tournament. Guys, we have MVP Black trying to do it again here. They're literally doing it again.
Not dropping a single map throughout the entirety of the tournament. Not even really very many close maps, in fact, throughout the tournament. And Fnatic, there were blemishes. There were maps dropped here. Will they be able to fight through? It's going to be a tough one.
Well, ladies and gentlemen out there, around the world, and especially here in the Anaheim Convention Center, are you ready for the grand finals? Absolutely packed here in Anaheim. The Heroes universe out there is out in full force. It's a sight to behold here as these two mammoths of the scene, Fnatic, a world champion, MVP Black, a world champion, having had their stumbling block throughout this year, but then incorporating back into the fold people like Rich, people that we consider to be the best players in the world, come back, get to this stage, and make it to the finals, Wolf.
They had an opportunity in the mid-season brawl, both Korean teams, L5 and MVP Black, of course L5 now known in this tournament as Ballistics. But
not their final form yet, and the question is, has Fnatic caught them at a time so far?
But anyway, I guess we're going to take a look at this highlight clip. We're going to mute it really quick, but I was just going to say, looking back here, MVP Black has had so many moments.
They have taken win after win. So losing in the group stage when the outcome of the game doesn't.
All right, welcome back, guys.
That planned. All planned.
All planned. All
we're
planned.
Like, we're going to have so much laughs if we do it that way.
We're sabotaging our career.
What were you saying, Wolf? Go
so
on.
anyways,
Grab from the past.
We saw the Korean teams have an opportunity at the mid-season brawl. Everyone pointed to Fnatic saying Fnatic has defeated Korea, right? They said it was all Fnatic. But it really wasn't. It was Dignitas who defeated Korea and Fnatic who defeated Dignitas. And now Fnatic gets to prove themselves again, arguably for the first chance they've had since their defeat against Ballistics in the grand finals. They beat Black last year. Can they do it again? That, for me, is what this entire finals is all about.
You've got to solidify yourself. We heard Breeze in that documentary saying that this is BlizzCon. It's going to prove who the best is. And coming into this, the top two teams you would say would be MVP Black and Fnatic. And as you said, these monsters here are meeting in the finals. The crowd is absolutely going bonkers out here. So I'm excited for this right now.
All right, gentlemen, we're almost ready to get into this best of 5, the grand finals. Who's going to walk away with $500? It's MVP Black going up against Fnatic.
저번 이스턴 때는 저희가 준비가 많이 부족했다고 생각해요. 근데 이번에는 블리즈컨에서 저희가 새로운 코치를 영입해서 그 코치로 인해서 저희가 많은 이득을 본 것 같아요. 그래서 그 코치님 덕을 좀 많이 보고 저희가 준비를 더 많이 해서 좀 더 수월하게 이기지 않았나 그런 생각이 들어요.
저희가 아직 안 보여준 게 많아서 여러모로 많은 걸 준비해놨어요. 결승 무대에서 제가 올라갈 수 있을지는 모르겠지만 올라가가지고 만약에 한국 1위인 저희와 유럽 1위인 푸나틱을 만나면은 정말 재밌는 무대가 될 것 같고 제 느낌상 푸나틱을 만나면은 저희가 질 것 같지는 않아요.
푸나틱은 저희가 미드 시즌에서 한번 이겨봤었어요, 2대0으로. 그래서 이번에도 큰 문제는 없다고 생각하는데 결승 1위이기 때문에 저희가 약간 긴장될 수도 있을 것 같아서 그것만 조심하면은 결승에서도 푸나틱 상대는 크게 큰 문제는 없을 것 같아요. 이번 블리즈컨은 처음 왔는데 사실 처음 와봤기에 오기 전에 다른 팀원들의 좀 놀림감이 됐는데 미국에 처음 왔다고. 이번에 블리즈컨에서 제가 이번에 우승컵을 들어올리면 이제 역으로 제가 그 선수들을 좀 놀릴 수 있지 않을까 하고 무조건 우승컵을 들어올려야 할 것 같아요.
So it feels amazing making it all the way to the grand finals. Now we're up against MVP Black. It's gonna get really tough from here on, but you know, once again we just have to go in there, do our thing, and if we prepare well, I think we have a decent chance.
Now that we face MVP Black in the grand finals, it's a rematch of last year's semi-finals, which we won pretty convincingly, even though we were a big underdog. MVP always seems to show lately on LAN, like the last years. So let's hope they do that again.
Yeah, if we win, I'm probably just not playing next year and going to Bahamas. No. So I actually don't know. If I win, I'm probably not gonna do anything too exciting outside of the normal, you know, maybe just celebrate a bit extra when I get home with my friends and family and girlfriend. But apart from that, I'm just saving up for when I actually am in need of money.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. These teams are here to give their best. Let's show them ours. Now, in the red corner, it is Korea's MVP Black! And over on the blue side, from Europe, it's Sweden's Fnatic! Captains, please, center stage. Gentlemen, may the best team win. Kalaris, please, take it away.
Thank you. It's the dream final. It's the one everyone was hoping for on the grandest stage of them all. Blizzcon here for the HGC 2017 finals. What a year it's been as everything has been broken down across these major and minor regions. All leads to this. All leads to this final road to find out who's going to be walking away with the $500,000. And of course, second place will be taking $200,000. $700,000 across these two teams. And it couldn't get more down to the wire. But the big question is anyone going to stop the tyrants that are MVP Black right now?
I don't think so. I wore this last year.
Oh, no.
I'm going to wear it again. I'm going to put this hat on. And I'm going to tell you guys, MVP Black's going to win this series. But let's remember, MVP Black has never won a BlizzCon before. 2015, denied by DK in OGN Super League Grand Finals, didn't come to BlizzCon. 2016, denied by this very team, Fnatic, right behind us. And this year, they can get revenge. This year is their year.
The whole thing about Fnatic, the storyline, we know this team came together last May in 2016, stumbled out of the blocks, couldn't get over the hump that was Dignitas, then showed up at BlizzCon last year, surprised everybody, had the joy of the fans the entire tournament. Then they come out this year, they step their game up, they get past Dignitas, they start to win the global championships. Now they find themselves in an interesting spot. They are the favorites coming in, but yet somehow we're still seeing them as underdogs, a role that they thrive in.
Grubby?
At least in terms of BlizzCon, MVP Black is now what Fnatic was pretty much to any tournament. Fnatic struggled to win tournaments always behind Dignitas, and now they banish that. Western Clash 2, mid-season brawl, 2 consecutive victories, and now we will see whether it will be Fnatic that goes on a really long winning spree as MVP Black had in the past, or if MVP Black will finally banish their demons.
If there was ever a time to cheer, it's right now for one of these two teams in the grand final. Let's check in with the cheer progress bar as well. Out in the HGC universe, you can hear them in the crowd. We want to hear you back at home. Cheer for one of these teams, be it MVP Black or Fnatic, going into this final best of 5. This is deafening. Whoa! Everybody in Anaheim is out in full force. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for this fantastic conclusion to the tournament. And Wolf, looking at how, of course, MVP Black has come in or whatever, what do you think about on the other side for Fnatic?
I think Fnatic has shown us really incredible punish play, and I think that is what we saw from Ballistics when Ballistics took the crown last year, was really good punish play of mistakes, of overextensions, for example, and I think a weakness for Fnatic going into this is going to be that Black very rarely makes those types of mistakes, very rarely makes those overextensions.
I'll argue the other side because Fnatic, I said it earlier in this tournament, Fnatic took the blueprint of Ballistics, L5 last year, took the championship, learned from it, developed strategies macro-wise. Oh, by the way, they're a pretty good team fighting team as well. That's not exactly Ballistics' centerpiece. It's not exactly Fnatic's, but when it comes down to it, they can play everything really well. I think MVP Black's got a huge challenge here.
I'm not going to delay this any longer. It's time to find out the battleground that we're going to first for our first game here in this best of 5. And Fnatic is going to take us to a comfort. It's Cursed Hollow.
Cursed Hollow, guys, this has so many dynamics for Fnatic. We could see the old Chen style that we know that they like to run. They run Morales Chen with a Vala. We saw what Quacknix did on Vala just moments ago against Ballistics. They have so many different strategies on here. We saw the Bright Wing Stitches just several months ago. They have a wide variety.
Let's turn it up to 11, Anaheim, as we get into the first draft here, the best of 5 grand final. MVP Black goes up against Fnatic.
Here we go. It's going to be the first ban of this finals. This first map will set the stage as to what Black scales up for Fnatic here as a team. We know these two teams scrimmed together a lot because they knew the only way they would meet in this tournament is in this grand finals. So we'll probably see some strange, unusual picks here because these two teams have trained together so much to try to throw each other off in the mental game.
The one thing that you can do here, because Fnatic loves to rotate on this map, they love to rotate strictly for taking down structures and putting the macro pressure on. One way to deal with that, Grubby, is to throw some mines down in those pathing lanes.
Yeah, mine build with the slow reveals enemies, dismounts them, slows their rotation, and allows your 4-man to do some serious damage, taking down towers here and there. Now, Fnatic goes with 2 very cool picks. Not their trademark global style, these heroes that can teleport around, but a very good wave clearer, one of the best assassins of the tournament in Greymane, and Dahaka, who can burrow into brushes that Abathur might be hiding in, forcing Abathur to be more defensive, and furthermore, Dahaka can de-push those locust and powered pushes even more.
The other thing you get out of Greymane, early lane pressure. You're losing one body essentially when you have Abathur on your team. And one thing Fnatic will do is they will run it down top or bottom and they will force a response out of you. They go directly in, you hop into Worgen form right away. Greymane has probably the highest value early game in that regards.
So Muradin paired with Abathur has always been a strong point for MVP Black. For those who've watched
Since 2015, we've seen this time and time again. Sometimes it's even rich on the Murden in these cases. The semifinals of 2015 OGN Super League was the first time we saw Black do this, and they have never shied away from it. This is one of the reasons why so many teams ban Abathur away from MVP Black, and it's not just about the mines and the control that that gives, but it's also about the power of that Murden that does so much in his current state. Is considered to be by most pro gamers to be Murden's strongest ever in his history. He's been around since the beginning of the game.
The hover is interesting, isn't it, Jay-How?
Very interesting. You see Abathur on the other side. We generally don't see Medivh comps paired with that, but maybe Fnatic's got a few tricks up their sleeves on some things they want to do.
So let's talk about what it means. Medivh, Burst Protect, Force of Will is 1.5 seconds of protected status, cannot take damage. Greymane is there. He has a heroic gold Cursed Bullet. Maybe Fnatic runs a warrior like Varian and tries to blow someone up mega fast.
Scouting as well. That's, again, Fnatic will try and get early bosses. They'll try and get double boss play. These are all things of the textbook of Fnatic, the way that they play Cursed Hollow. And one of the things that teams will do, we actually saw Schwempy kind of stay in Raven form quite a bit against the Tempo Storm, putting down
sprays were prevalent.
Literally set the record for most sprays in a game. But I really want to see what MVP Black does, whether they ban potentially a Morales, a Chen here, that Fnatic style that might throw MVP Black off early.
Now at this level, at this world stage, every draft decision is multi-layered. If you style yourself a potential world champion, as these two teams now are, this Medivh ban doesn't only signal a blow-up comp intention, but also fakes a blow-up comp intention. And so this is something that Black is thinking about. Gone goes the Stitches. That's a very clever ban, but it's also in a way premeditated and forced by Fnatic.
They did the Stitches, Hook, Gorge into a Brightwing Bomb. This was the original Brightwing Bomb we saw just at mid-season Brawl. They did it on this Battleground. They had some stuff even last BlizzCon that they did. I remember hearing Breeze talk about it, that he would go and he turned a certain way and Schwempy would miss a skill shot, and they finally calmed down, got settled in. So this is a very, very specific strategy we've seen Fnatic run before.
I wonder if Fnatic is thinking about what happened last year when we had the Abathur Chen play coming in to BlizzCon. Remember,
unfortunately, Chen got like mega nerfed since then.
I mean, people say that one of the reasons why Black lost that series was because Rich's Chen play was very weak. I don't think we'll see them pull something like that out in this grand finals, but the draft has thus far been very strange for Black, because you're still looking for who's going to be playing DPS here. Will we see Muradin played by Rich? A rare circumstance only with the Abathur. What's going to be the follow-up DPS here? You've already got both supports kind of on the table. You're calling Abathur, of course, a pseudo support here in this role. Now we're going to find out what this draft was meant to do from the start. Fnatic's been very careful about drafting around it. You have the Anubra coming out here very strong. Can't really ruin a lot of these clones that come through, but all questions are about to be answered.
The one thing Anubrak says to me is that it denies a potential Genji pick, as we see Arthas come in here. We've seen the Arthas Muradin with an Abathur style before, and we go Zarya. Triple Warrior with an Abathur. This is the ultimate push style.
Triple Warrior, one support, one Abathur.
You got it covered A to Z here.
So this really reminds me of the Chen play we saw from MVP Black in the past on this map. No range damage, just running these melees.
No ranged assassin, right?
Yeah. It's just going to be straight up pushing power from this Zarya in the early game. And now Fnatic has to, I think, consider potentially another global or another answer to this push, because going toe-to-toe against this Zarya Abathur comp, this very aggressive melee style, is going to be nigh impossible.
There's three ways that Fnatic can respond. Either counter the global and Abathur, go more global, or there we go. They're going to go with that way. So they want damage. Falstad brings Giant Killer as well. Very important going up against Triple Warrior. But that doesn't take away that MVP Black has a near unbreakable composition here.
They are going to have to focus on the macro game if you are Fnatic, but the pushing power of a Zarya composition, we've seen Team Liquid do it in Europe. We've seen other teams adapt that strategy. So the power of Zarya early, we have the double global on the other side. There's some major counterplays on both sides here.
This is really reminiscent also, though not quite in the exact same way, of what we saw from Roll20 in the group stage with this early Zarya. You can do things like just shove really hard these lanes very deep, try to grab an early boss, especially once you get 10, you have expulsion zone, things like this. This melee comp is going to be so powerful on the boss. Got to be careful about things like Gust, but if you have this strong pushing comp, you should theoretically get level 10 first if you do enough structural damage, so you're not as worried about the Gust, for example.
Wolf, do you really believe in this comp from MVP Black?
No. Actually, no.
Where's your hat gone?
It's down here below the desk.
Oh, okay.
Now, I think that this comp is just, it's so all in. And Fnatic, I think, has already identified what the point is. They picked the Falstad here.
Yeah.
And I think they've kind of already outdrafted this.
I think so too. And now let's say if it was Tomb of the Spider Queen. Maybe MVP Black has a bit of a better chance there. And maybe not the Avatar, but you know, the idea of this unbreakable pushing comp. But this is Cursed Hollow, it's really big, so I expect Fnatic to play, you know, the map, truly. Ignore the lane that's being pushed, do something else in another lane, and make sure that you out-globalize, out-map control MVP Black.
All right, well, it's time now to get into game number 1. We're going to head over to our commentary team to bring you the first game in the grand final here for the HGC 2017 finals.
BlizzCon, we have made it. The winner of this series forms a legacy on a whole new level for competitive heroes as the first ever HGC Finals champions. Dreadnought, it has been such a journey to get to this point.
Everything that everyone has been working for over the past year accumulates down to this one very moment. Not just us, but these players have committed themselves for so very long, and now it is time for them to prove to earn what they have, you know, worked themselves for.
A rematch of one of the most beloved, most hyped series of all time for Heroes of the Storm. When Fnatic came in and they upset MVP Black, keeping them from going to the grand finals last year.
It was, I mean, an upset of the century. Everyone was so very concerned what was happening with the Korean scene, but all of a sudden Europe is coming out of nowhere and dominating. You heard Wolf referring to it before. It feels like MVP Black has constantly struggled to get what they feel like is theirs, and this is going to be the moment where they have to prove it. If it truly is, now's the time to show up.
Well, the game is ready, the players are ready, so let's get into it. As I ask, BlizzCon, are you ready? This is it. This is the moment. It's the HGC Grand Finals. It all comes down to this.
And in the blue is going to be your defending champions. You have Breeze on the Anubarak, Quacknix playing that Falstad. Schwimpy's going to be on the gray main. Dahaka, played by Wubby, and Smexy is on Fnatic. Or excuse me, Karzim. Let's hear it for Fnatic!
And in the red, the Spring Global Champions of last year, Sake playing Rhaegar Reset on Zarya, Tist playing Muradin, we've got Kyocha playing Abathur, and finally Rich on Arthas. Give it up for MVP Black!
There was a lot of doubt coming out from the analyst desk here, Gilly, about this strategy from MVP Black. We know the focus has got to be heavy emphasis into Siege, and I already want to bring to light the talent selection there on to Rich. Going with his Demolition Expert over Feel the Heat. The race is going to be a lot slower for the members of Fnatic with this early game pressure we're assuming they're going to be looking to aim and achieve here in this game.
And Fnatic, in the understanding that this is a composition for MVP Black to get that early Siege going, to enable that Abathur later on, head straight to the mid, take down towers, and then bring Quacknix to the bot. It's all about safe soaking here. Quacknix absolutely cannot get caught out.
The members of MVP Black, with the composition that Fnatic has developed with this double global, it feels like if they struggle at all with the macro decision-making into the early and mid-game, it is going to really snowball out of proportion. Quacknix unable to dodge the Howling Blast, the damage goes in, and that is first blood over to MVP.
He sniffed it out, but it wasn't enough. MVP Black dived deep to get first blood, taking out Quacknix. In the top, the symbiote of Kyocha doing a lot of damage here to the members of Fnatic who are trying to bring that down. But Wubby finds Kyocha.
He's kiting away the
Run,
slug.
little slug, run!
He's gonna make it out. Brushduck here. Tist trying to dive over the wall, but too little, too late. The Word Friend is going to be safe here, Gilly.
So let's take a moment, take a beat to talk what's at stake for these teams. This is the first ever HGC Finals championship here, and Fnatic, they were the champions of the mid-season brawl, but even though they are the reigning global champions, they don't feel like they are. They wanted to keep their head in the game, and Dreadnought can a king reign for that long, because even at their peak, the team that most consider the best in the world of heroes, MVP Black, they couldn't do it.
Yeah, when we take a look back at that moment where they were the most dominant team by far, going, I think it was somewhere 46 games or so undefeated.
Yes.
It just, they were able to hold on for 1 to 2 months. If you look at the dominance and the time span here of Fnatic, they are asking to be much longer, much more successful than those members of MVP Black. And again, it does come down to this series. This will be the moment where they essentially are proving that they are trailblazing in history for all of competitive Heroes of the Storm.
And MVP Black only get once a year to go for what they feel like is theirs. They were denied by Team DK. They were denied last year by Fnatic themselves. And now this is the time for them to get that. But they're maybe denied their rich because Wubby is coming with the dragon, brings down Arthas.
Tiss and friends are in a bit of a tough spot. Reset there without the field of heat's not going to have too much damage as the last interrupt is there. Breeze backing out. He's going to start working on this. So the tribute #1 here is going over to Fnatic, but understandably so. We have to keep in mind that their composition is into an Abathur comp. MVP Black wants to look for team fights post-10. They're going to be playing passive in team fights, but not when it comes to that siege and that structure damage.
Yeah, ideally they have people who can try to stall out, but it's not the best since it is so melee heavy. It's someone like Tist, you can go forward with the Abathur symbiote and allow him to get the delays. It's someone like the Zarya that we have, throwing out the grenade after grenade so that they can delay and allow Abathur to soak. But if they don't go in for an engagement, Fnatic have those double globals of their own to be able to keep the soak going. That's why we see that slight experience advantage for Fnatic.
And you know, the Anubarak pick here on the side of Fnatic is a bit of a, you know, rare one in this tournament. I believe it's only the 3rd or 2nd Anubarak we've had in all of the HGC finals. And we saw Locust Swarm coming out. And into an Arthas specifically, if we do see Army of the Dead selected, those two are a nice soft counter in favor of the Anubarak. So I feel like that clever pickup high into the draft for them has really paid off as MVP Black has gone into such a melee-centric composition. Those Locust Swarms are going to get a lot of heals for that bug.
Yeah, it is really only Fnatic who have been willing to bring back out Anubarak as a pick for Breeze, but Howling Blast connects. Schwimpy is in danger, close to the wall. Dodges the Storm Ball. He is safe.
Only reason he was able to make it out of there is because that brilliant side set. Also, we saw Karazim in the meantime was able to secure the 2nd tribute for Fnatic. They are now walking on Cursed Point.
So what do we see as the setup for Fnatic getting ready for that potential Cursed tribute? Lots of pushing where they can, maybe going and getting some mercenary camps. It looks like it's going to be in the top so that they can get the Giants and have those pushing. If they have that set up in a way, they may be able to force someone from MVP Black to respond there and then go for a pick on him. It's something that Fnatic often will do, and it's why there's such a terror on Cursed Hollow.
And once we find the heroics coming online for the members of Fnatic, think about those bosses and this heavy siege attempt. How is MVP Black, other than just hard initiating, going to be able to defend that? And even if they do get the initiation that they want, Fnatic has very good defensive tools to deal with it. That mighty gust on Quacknix is going to be a very necessary resource when MVP Black gets the proper initiation.
MVP Black will get the tribute for free because Fnatic has other objectives on their mind. They are comfortable knowing that they have 2 tributes and they have the lead in experience. But MVP Black realizes that Fnatic are missing. They didn't come to the tribute party, so they're partying somewhere else. It's here on the boss of MVP Black, and they will force a leash.
That's a very good decision making there from MVP Black, because with the boss being so very early on, even though they have an Abathur comp, and again, talking about how they wanted to avoid skirmishes, the boss, relative to the heroes at this point in time, does so much damage that even an Abathur composition can zone them off. And you know that Fnatic, I talked about the sieging defense on the side of MVP Black. Fnatic, when they get an objective like a boss, they're going to do far more damage than the members of MVP Black.
1 level lead for our mid-season Brawl champions. Wubby ever watchful in a lane, making sure that he's getting the soak for his team. We'll soon have heroic abilities available for Fnatic, and we'll see the true composition unfold for them. And I'm really looking to see what kind of heroic abilities we get from MVP Black, what kind of adaptations we get for those heroic abilities for them to make sure that they can do the damage necessary in team fights.
Yeah, it's going to be a doozy here. I'm going to leave it up to MVP Black here. You know, they have made it here to the grand finals with such a dominant performance that at this point, I feel like I can't doubt them. They have got this thing under control. But heroics now are here for Fnatic as the 3rd possible tribute for them is going to spawn. It's very likely MVP Black will forfeit this over. It's just really how much damage, how much experience gets snowballed into Fnatic's favor during this curse.
Yeah, there are pros and cons to this. The pro is obviously that MVP Black are working on so soaking elsewhere, and they're going to have every single member at their disposal to be able to defend versus this early curse for Fnatic. But it is a curse for free that Fnatic gets, so let's see what they can get done with it.
Can Wubby get out of here? He starts the brush stock. Howling Blast goes down, and he's
gone.
able to get out of here. Very well done. Drawing that kind of resource has only allowed a lot of the members here of Fnatic to siege up into this mid lane. Right now, Fnatic is going to just be so far ahead of the members of MVP Black. This is a very impressive start coming out from Europe.
It is impressive. Here's the heroic abilities for MVP Black. Maybe that's the turn of the tides for them. No Haymaker, nothing like that, still an Avatar. The question mark remains on Arthas though. Is it Dragon time?
I don't think that's going to be the case, even more so considering that we have Cocoon selected for Fnatic. So we do see Army of the Dead, the standard there, as Kyocha on that Avatar, trying to get as much side soak, enabling those Giants as best he can. Traditionally, when you look at a map like Cursed Hollow, you always expect that if you do not have that global advantage, that you're going to fall very, very far behind during that first curse point. Granted, you know, Kyocha, he's that soft pseudo-global. He's able to help with this experience here. But I do feel like because the double global of Fnatic during this curse, they have this on their side. I feel like maybe they didn't get as much out of this as they would have liked to, especially considering how dominant they were over those first couple of minutes.
Cocoon goes out as Breeze wants to get Wubby to safety. He's still trying to help kite him back with all the beetles there. MVP Black will bust him out of that. Fnatic, though, this whole time, it's just a clever ruse while the rest of them go and take the boss in the bottom lane. Twice now, we have seen Fnatic be able to use a situation where Wubby's in danger and get something massive out of it. First of 4, now the boss.
First boss picked up for Fnatic. The members of MVP Black are responding, mirroring the transitions of them. Neither side is gaining too big of an advantage. I guess at best we could give this over to Fnatic just because not only do they have it faster, but again, all the melees of MVP Black, every time you have this many melees, you have to go, how do we defend against these types of bosses? Your positioning is so very risky. And I know I said it before, but I think it's going to be a breaking point in this game. Quacknix's Gus in this defensive situations are going to be devastating. We saw Roll20 kind of bringing that out yesterday in the stages.
Yeah, the ability to kite back from that anytime MVP Black wants for an engagement, but they do have people maybe who could flank around from the side and hit him with something like an expulsion zone, and of course Arthas can be such a good flank hero. So we just have to watch and see where the positioning is of Quacknix. It has been so far today that we have seen Quacknix be the one who is everything is riding on top of him and his ability to stay safe in these fights. But here comes the fight as the expulsion zone's down.
Rich moves in there and actually gets stunned out by the boss. Nice Gus. 7-sided strike going down on a bird, and he's deleted so very fast. Kyocha, just a clone, stuck into the rest of the members, but Fnatic are opening this up very quick, Gilly.
Yeah, the melee having such a hard time defending this boss. It's all but dead as Quacknix goes on forward, hitting reset with his hammering and brings down Zarya in the brink of time.
And the rest of Fnatic now concentrating onto the fort. Wubby has taken a bit of damage. Now the minions is there to turn it around. In 9 minutes and 50 seconds in, Fnatic claim themselves the very first keep of this game.
So now we're seeing maybe the difficulty of the change-up in roles from MVP Black. Having Kyocha playing that Avatar, Sake has been playing a ton of support, but that Ancestral Healing just not quite connecting as Fnatic goes in and gets that Zarya kill. Absolutely crucial for for Fnatic that they've been able to bring down a keep so early on, 10 minutes into this game. They've got a 2-level advantage over MVP Black in game 1.
And now, because of the experience difference between these two teams, this tribute specifically is huge. If MVP Black struggles to secure this for themselves, it is very unlikely that they will be able to do anything on the map for a long while. Fnatic, using those globals, using the 16 talents here, will just bully them all over. This is a must-win, in my opinion, here for the members of MVP Black.
Oh, there's the
that free
cleansing shield, so good. The expulsion zone splitting apart. Quacknix in danger, so much danger, goes down as he cuts MVP away.
Rich is able to slow them down, drops a Howling Blast. Wubby getting the brush stock out. He will end up surviving here, but how many members of Fnatic can retreat? Stormbolt and Dwarf Toss down. A new Barak is going to burrow charge over the wall, but the Howling Blast is going to lock him in, and now 2 members of Fnatic are out of here.
MVP firing back in this game. They have yet to lose a single game in this tournament. They didn't lose a series all the way through phase 2 here, showing why they chose the composition that they did.
And though the members of MVP Black have been dominant throughout this tournament and undefeated, as you said, this is the first time that we have ever seen them look mortal at the HGC finals. Yes, this is a tempo swing into their favor, but it is not over yet. Fnatic still has that 16 talent here, and again, this double global, as the game moves on, it just gets worse and worse to be able to deal with. Even though the Avatar's there, it's only half the problem.
Especially since Fnatic got that early keep. They still have 16 here, but MVP Black getting that second tribute now means that they have some time to keep that lane pushed, get some mercenaries out on the map and get themselves that 16 so they can keep fighting on.
MVP, who is going to pick up the night camp, is only going to match the members of Fnatic here. No team is going to venture out too far. It's just really what experience is going to be handed over for free to the members of MVP Black. Oftentimes you'll see teams, especially when they lose this kind of catapult lane, they won't even push it out just to make sure that they get the experience spawning. But here we go. This is going to be the tribute outside of the 16 talent tier window for MVP Black, and it seems like another tribute that's going to have to be a must give up for those members. Again though, if they struggled in that last tribute, this would be pushing towards that curse point, and you just go, where does MVP Black recover? That was an amazing tribute fight for them.
Getting those 2 kills. Fnatic will bring down Quacknix anyway, just to group up the team. We got Boss setting up very, very soon as MVP continues to stick together. Safety in numbers is the name of the game now. They can't afford to lose anybody, any singular kill, because it gets harder and harder for them to defend pushes just like this. As Fnatic starts to try to do whatever they can to use that 16 to their advantage. The last little bits of time before MVP Black gets their own.
So here we are, MVP Black now finally getting to get that 16 talents here. I do want to bring it back towards how long of a window we did see the advantage though for Fnatic. I feel like they maybe didn't get as much as they would have liked. Yes, they did struggle in that fight. That was, again, very clutch on the side of MVP Black, but with their composition and how good of a macro game we expect out of the members of Fnatic here, I feel like they did maybe give a bit too much respect over to the other side of the battlefield.
Yeah, MVP Black has also been responding really fast to all the rotations and responding together so that Fnatic never gets an opportunity with a mercenary camp to try to take someone out. In fact, they're going to continue responding by moving into positions not in time as the boss is capped. Rich turns right on around and heads back.
But Sake is going to commit to capturing this, which means MVP Black has to take this fight. It's going to draw a lot of aggro onto the other side of the map. They need to move past this boss. Tist gonna get sniffed out by Wubby. Dwarf tosses in, lands a Storm Bolt.
Has the heavy impact. Cocoon is there on top of Tist. Rich continuing to sit on the back line. Gust is forced away, and they're gonna focus down Tist so fast!
Ancestral goes though, he gets the Dwarf toss out. The stun lands on the Wubby. They're getting the damage out. There's the Burrowing Claws. Nice impale coming out from the front line there. Breeze. Wubby though is still in a bad spot. He is unable to make it out, and now MVP Black's looking for more.
Kyocha's clone was so good at zoning away the rest of Fnatic. Schwinn being so much dangerous. Tist comes back in with the symbiote and stabs him to death.
Breeze not able to make it out, chased by Tist, the Dwarf Toss, the Stormbolt. Every member of Fnatic is being dealt with so very well by Black. Nice dash from Smacks. It will secure his HP, but Quack is on the core.
Quack's on the core. MVP Black comes back. This boss is so healthy.
70?
75% and falling. Quacknix gets stunned. He will go down. It's all down to the boss. Does MVP Black clear it up? It looks like yes, they will, but the damage is so severe.
We have 20 seconds till 3 members of Fnatic will come online. In the top lane, we saw Kyocha focusing so very heavily on the keep. They have opened themselves up in equal win condition, Gilly.
8 seconds till Greymane's back. We have to hawk it back up right now. Fnatic need to get all of these minions pushed back out of it. MVP Black are going to the boss in the top lane. We might have a base race situation on our hands.
We do, very much so. You know the members of Fnatic do not want to deal with this boss and MVP Black onto the core. So this means that MVP Black has to capture the boss back, feign interest, get them away from the core as best they can, and then hope that somehow Abathur or somebody can make it to the core and finally end the game. Smex taking over the site tower. He's gonna have friends to be able to make it out in case Rich gets a little too aggressive here. This is so tense. Fnatic cannot make one mistake, because if they do, you know Fnatic or MVP will turn this game around.
But similarly, 18% on that core. Rich smells disaster for Fnatic. He catches Breeze. He has the burrow charge away. MVP Black chasing him down. We've got the flank coming around from the side. Cocoon is used to get Rich off of Breeze's tail.
And the members of MVP Black need to be doing something here, because once this boss is done, that is another win condition loss for them. They're going to transfer here to the mid lane, try and focus onto this middle keep. But there is still only 18% remaining on that core. There is no mule here for this Abathur. That is permanent damage. And there is a Gus on the side of Fnatic. This almost feels like they could just look at the thing and it's going to die.
Yeah, the boss was dealt with so fast for Fnatic. Not even a single point of core health lost for our European team in this series. Woo, they deal with the boss. Their core is safe, but MVP Black has at least pushed them back to their half of the map.
That was very well done by Fnatic, being able to draw that aggro but not lose any of the resources. It cost them a Cocoon, one of the easiest, more short cooldowns to be able to distribute there, and leaving the false head to Haka for that free clear. But
So
MVP.
now Fnatic likely to go down into the bottom. MVP Black are just going to hope that they can push in through once it's seen. They're going to start the backs.
They showed on the sidewalls here in the bottom lane. MVP knows Wubby's trying to get the disruption. He's going to
Gets it
find
on
Tiz.
one.
Dwarf toss over the wall. Fnatic's not done. They're going to keep aggressing. The two members here, Quacknix and
They're the
Wubby,
global.
they're going to distract them.
They're the globals. Rich and Tist are on top of Wubby. They can always go in. It's Falstad who
The
can go in
clone.
too. Expulsion zone used so early
Cocoon.
on. Fnatic are walking right past MVP Black.
Smexy's going to be the one taking it, but we have the Beatles spawning. The members of Fnatic
They're
here are
doing
looking
it.
to end this thing. They want to take game one.
Twinbee's on top of the core. The shielding is gone. 10% and down. Fnatic draws first blood on MVP Black, winning game one.
No surprise to see Fnatic rely on their globals when put at the final stage, the final boss known as MVP Black. Such brilliant decision-making and macro play. It started at the draft, but you know the execution at all points in time there on the side of Fnatic was so crisp and so clean.
Something that Fnatic always has in their back pocket, and especially on a battleground like Cursed Hollow, where they are so good. They use those globals to win one global championship in Heroes of the Storm. They might have just set themselves up to do it again here at the HGC Finals.
But we also know that that cannot happen on every single map within our map pool. So you know what? I'm not going to keep us here any longer. I want to figure out where we're going for map number 2. Guys, what did you think about that last game?
Fantastic game to start things off for Fnatic as they're able to find themselves that little bit of a backdoor opportunity. And what a crazy way to start this series.
I feel like if you're Black, you've simply made every wrong choice to draft this. It's the type of draft we saw them fail against Fnatic last year for the same reasons. They've drafted this with Fnatic having the 5th pick available, knowing that Fnatic likes to run globals like the Falstad. They already had the Dahaka. I feel like they tied their hands and their feet behind their back going into that first game, and they totally got crushed and dominated. Fnatic's known for the decision-making in the late game like this. Europe has always been known for this. Why play to their strengths?
The minute they get an inch, they literally take over everything that they do. From the 16 talent tier, just moving in, taking small incremental parts of the map away from it. The backdoor call was phenomenal because they know that they have a double global. Going against the Abathur to set themselves up for that, everything that they do is calculated, and it's snap decisions like that. The reason why I love watching Fnatic play.
Groby, your thoughts and highlights, maybe?
Yeah, let's take a look at it. There was a really cool thing that happened here from Reset on Zarya as we kind of check it out here. And we see that Reset is going to block with unstoppable competitor, level 13 talent, the Cocoon. Nowadays, it gets put on a full cooldown when that happens. Then we can see that the expulsion zone happens. Now Zarya is taking too much damage. Falstad is taking too much damage, cannot get away. And he will actually get burned down by Reset in the end. So that quick reaction, and it really was the very last microsecond of the fight, allowed MVP Black to win a 2 levels down talent, get the kill on Falstad, and later goes down a Nubarak as well. Now here the second moment. I studied this fight over and over again. You see the Cocoon here on Muradin. Not the easiest target to burn down, but as we pause it for a second here, the setup is there. Every member of Fnatic is ready to burn that guy down. There's Cursed Bullet, there's 7-sided Strike, so let's see what happens here. We're gonna play it real slow so we can see if any of the members of Fnatic are missing some crucial damage. I suppose, you know, the boomerang from Falstad is, in the end, the thing. It went past before the Cocoon popped. The boomerang went off at maximum distance. Muradin survives with just 100 health. Now, credit absolutely to the way that MVP Black handled that. Just a little bit of damage. Quacknix missed out maybe on like 400 or 500 damage in that engagement, but for the rest, everyone did what they could. So you're very close to a perfect amount of damage burst there by Fnatic. But the thing is, you know, as cool as that was, that blow-up attempt and how Muradin got away, in the end, that was a correct fight to take for Fnatic. Almost no matter what happens, because the boss was pushing.
after that top boss was obtained by MVP Black, and of course Fnatic showed bottom, they warranted a response. They came back and they retreated for a moment. And at that point in time, I'm literally telling Wolf, MVP Black, the only thing they can do from here on out, it's kind of like Tempest versus Dig the other day. The only thing that you can do in that moment is to fight for the rest of the game, because the back door is going to be there. And we saw them sneak out the back door, and they got it.
I mean, we also have to talk about the bush there that MVP Black set up towards the mid lane to try to ambush when that Hearth was interrupted. I mean, that was pretty much like you could have just written GG at that moment. There's no way they go back. They couldn't actually stop the push from going to the bottom. They controlled the Watchtower, they controlled Vision, set up those fights that you were talking about, but it was in that moment where they got greedy in the bush where that was the last nail in the coffin. And I don't think we'll see Black try to play this way again against Fnatic here, Europe's finest. And you know, playing the macro game against Europe is a risky thing to do, and it didn't work out in this case.
But one thing is, this draft, as much as we thought it had no chance, it was a lot closer. It's almost like their hands and feet were, draft-wise, were tied behind their back, but they nearly escaped from the sinking cube tied with chains. And
I think this was supposed to be a mental power play. I defeated Fnatic with this comp that doesn't have range damage.
Next
it's kind of a cheese
specialist.
Strategy. Yeah, and now it's like, okay, well, we're down 1-0 in the series, and MVP Black has this momentum shift, but I think it might have had the opposite effect here.
Well, gentlemen, time to go to a short break here and hear a word from our sponsors before we go into game number 2 of the Grand Final.
The 2017 Heroes Global Championship Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get into game 2 here in a moment as we're trying to figure out which battleground we're going to be going to. You can see in the previous game, after Fnatic was able to take that victory, they stepped away for a little bit and just kind of, I suppose, recompose themselves after taking that very, very impressive game number 1 win, after setting themselves up for victory. How they did, Jay, how?
They like to please the crowd, apparently. They put on one heck of a show there in game 1. So no surprise, Fnatic fan favorites from last year in this place erupted. Like, I'm putting on my headset, I'm like, I cannot hear what the game sound here, because this crowd is going wild for Fnatic.
And it's absolutely deafening in the building at the moment, with all the seats seemingly full at the moment here in the Anaheim Convention Center, Grubby.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And I'm still just thinking about what is MVP Black going to do next. Are they going to take the first pick, or are they going to take the map? If they do take the map, I expect Tomb of the Spider Queen. 2 reasons. MVP Black is showing a lot of 5 fingers to a fist composition. A lot of sustain and heavy push. Fnatic are really good at globals, and they love it. So you go to a small map, prevent the false start backdoors, and it's also happening to be the most picked map for MVP Black in this tournament so far, Tomb of the Spider Queen. Let's see.
Let's find out. We're going to find out what our second battleground is going to be. Currently, Fnatic leads 1-0. It will be Fnatic taking us to Infernal Shrines.
So normally, as I mentioned before, Korea will almost always take first pick, and I think it's sometimes actually a weakness of Korea in terms of strategic depth is to always take first pick, to give the battleground choice to your opponents. And something that we see MVP Black choosing here yet again, their map ban, we didn't talk about it too much again, Warhead Junction. They will ban that map against any team. And let's see what they want to make of this draft. They need to make this first pick worth it.
Game number 2, let's go into the draft. Fnatic leads 1-0 against MVP Black here, and the first to 3 wins will be crowned our world champion.
The whole thing about this is by not taking the map choice, this again is a battleground that plays towards Fnatic's style. They have no hesitation on picking the larger battlegrounds, unlike Sky and Temple, which you tend to have the same fights. Infernal Shrines, early game, you can kind of avoid that. And MVP Black coming out with a first pick Greymane.
Really curious how this is going to play out for Fnatic now. MVP Black is drafting a lot more. Normally, at least we can already tell from the first pick. And, you know, in this reverse situation, Korea, MVP Black in this case, might have wanted to draft into something like a Tracer Morales, some sort of really strong comp that can deal with the wave clear that Greymane does provide. Let's see what Fnatic wants to take us to here. Dahaka was their go-to after seeing the Abathur pick, but we might see that a little bit later now on Infernal Shrine, since we're not starting off with that global for Black.
Now, when a team picks up their warrior first, it's about how you start engagements, how you control the pace of the game. When you go support first, usually it's a support choke style. Support also to counter the type of damage that comes out. But drafting assassin first while banning ETC, is a very strange pattern that makes me wonder. You're happy to give away Muradin, the top 2 contested warriors. It's going to be a Nubarak. Fnatic doesn't want to play into whatever hand MVP Black is handing them because it's the most obvious one.
Yeah.
Maybe not for the map per se, but the warrior prioritization. And so MVP Black, I think with Greymane, they're probably planning Tyrael or maybe even Stitches.
I would love to see the Tyrael play here with MVP Black running perhaps even the build that we've seen from Dami in the past, used in Sweden, going into that Wizened Duelist with the Eyes in the Dark, the Wolfheart at level 1. Very popular in Korea. We've seen a movement towards Quicksilver Bullets in recent times. Going to take Karzim and Muradin here though, wanting to make sure they don't get support choked right now. I think this is definitely going to be a double support composition. So Abathur looked to be banned here again for Fnatic.
When I was getting ready to come to the stage earlier, I ran into Sake backstage. He said, Fnatic looks really strong. I said, yeah, they do. And he said, you told us you were going to win no matter what. He said, we will. And then I said, well, how's it going to work? He said, well, we practiced against them a lot. We know what they like to run. They know what we want to run. We feel more confident. And leading up to this, I watched all of the Breeze's ETC games. We talked about Bad Benny earlier. 34% kill potential on a power side, which means every time Breeze is landing, they have the proper follow-up with their composition. I got a feeling MVP Black respects Breeze. That was the highest kill participation of everybody across EU and NA coming into this tournament.
That's a really cool stat, J-How. I'm going to slap you back with another stat here.
Hit me with it.
Nubarak 5-0 in the entire HGC opening week and the grand finals here.
Isn't it mostly Fnatic?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it is. And who's playing him?
There you go.
There you go. Take that stat.
Yeah, I think that Nubarak offers so much, and it's not about the cocoon that people always point to. I think oftentimes it's just simply about displacement, and Nubarak can quite literally cut a team fight in half with his stuns. There's always the follow-up potential there, and Korean teams are known for coordination, moving almost like death balls around the map in these fights, and I think that Nubarak does very well against that type of play style because you do kind of cut the team in half, focus these targets. We saw great focus fire on Cursed Hollow with the 7-side strike, for example. Not available in this case, but Fnatic is great at isolating targets. Black seems a bit stumped here. I'm going to go ahead and ban out the Genji.
I think that makes sense. Genji, Rhaegar, and Nubarak, great kill potential. It's also telling that Black removes 2 picks of Fnatic last game, Greymane, Karzim, that put so much pressure on a single target with those double percentage-based damages.
Speaking of percentage-based damages, one thing we do see Wubby run a lot of on this battleground is the Leoric. And he has a lot of good control around the Shrine, good wave clear when Fnatic likes to split off and get that extra soak. They have a lot of things to play around with, but we also are going to have to mention Sonya at some point in this draft. Both teams love to play Sonya, and we've seen Rich on it, and this is one of her best maps by far because of the Shrine control and the things that Sonya does around there.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment, and I think it would be really strong to pick up Malthael as well if you are Fnatic as your 5th pick, assuming that Black would take the Sonya. It's tough to draft a Tyrael when your opponent does the Malthael as their last pick. You don't have that opportunity anymore. Let's see what Fnatic wants to do. It's going to be the Ana and Malthael. So going into Malthael early here. Now, Korea will always draft a Tyrael against Malthael if they feel like they can bring it into their composition, and MVP Black is no exception to that. So will they try to run this double tank into just the solo DPS Greymane range? Very risky. You lose the solo lane potential if you want to run that.
Can I just say how cool it is that Fnatic brings out Ana Malthael here? Ana has an ability called Nano Boost to give 200 mana.
Yeah.
You get the cooldown reduction on all basic abilities, and you get 30% spell power. Now, this doesn't work on percentage-based damage like Malthael's trait, but still, that means Q spam for days. You might as well wedge a coin under the Q button there as Malthael, because that's going to be so much damage and self-sustain coming out by Fnatic.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time we'll see this combo. It was banned and feared throughout the tournament, and finally it does make it through here with the Genji ban being shown.
Ooh, all right, disengage,
Run away.
Panic.
Yeah.
Disengage, but furthermore, it seems like MVP Black is trying to just counter whatever Fnatic's doing in the terms of like, all right, we saw you play Global last game, we're going to do it this game. The fact that Malthael's picked up means that Wubby won't be going into that Leoric, who has the good rotations. We won't see the global Dahaka, but what we do have on the last pick is going to be some type of damage, some backline damage. And I wonder, will we see the Vala, a more traditional style, more towards what Quacknix plays? But there's a potential for some mage play here right now, especially with the Ana.
Li Ming still available here with Ana. I think Li Ming is insanely powerful. You don't always have to rely on that Malthael that Grubby was talking about. It's a very strong combo, one we haven't seen in action, but one that has been, as mentioned, banned.
There it is.
Whoa.
That, I didn't want to say it and look like a fool, but this is something that they played before, and I thought it was going to be the back end of MVP Black's draft would determine what that style would be. That's why I said mage style, going to be on that back line, whether it was the Kel'Thas or Gul'dan.
Yeah.
When there's not really that threat, the only threat is going to be in there is going to be Muradin and Karazhan, potentially the Greymane, but Greymane has a lot to go through to get there. And if something like Gul'dan is well protected on the backside, that's good. And you talked about the Q, the Soul Rip on Malthael. Guess what? Fellflame, pretty short cooldown as well. You can spam Q on him as well with that nano boost. So there's a lot of play here.
Even some of MVP Black's bans and things like Genji and stuff like that aids and enables things like
100%. 100%.
Yeah, I have this sense that MVP Black has been drafting scared
Yeah.
from the beginning of this draft till the very end. So they play defensively. In comes Gul'dan, who is best countered by hypermobility and dive. Well, it's genius by Fnatic.
Yeah, it really is. And it's funny because we saw the exact opposite in their series against Expert. You could see a very differing level of confidence here for Black.
As you said, like the whispers in the back were MVP Black after that win where Fnatic was able to take Ballistics. They were a little worried about what was coming into this. And, well, our commentators are ready to head into game number 2 here as we see if Fnatic can take a 2-0 lead or if MVP Black can bring it back.
Thank you, Kyleris. Fnatic has been hiding strategies this entire tournament through the group stage, even through the quarterfinals. And there were some times when we thought, ooh, this is risky. You lost a game to Freedom, you lost a game to Tempo Storm. But that has allowed them to come in fresh with strategies. And man, this looks scary, Dread.
It very much does. There are so many tools in the hands of Fnatic with this draft to deal with a double support, with the healing reduction from Ana, healing reduction coming from Malthael, and you have the opportunity to get that nano-boosted Horrify. Like, there's so many amazing clumped-up anti-double support tools that I am very scared here for MVP Black, but it's MVP Black. Never can count them out.
Well, let's get into it. I know everyone's excited for Game 2 on Infernal Shrines. We are headed in with Fnatic currently leading this series 1-0 in the best of 5.
They found themselves a pretty dominant Game 1, looking for another here in Game 2. In the blue, it is Fnatic. We have Quacknix on the Gul'dan. Schwimpy is on the Ana. We have Wubby playing Malthael. Next up is Smexy on the Rhaegar, and last was Breeze on that Anubarak. Let's hear it for Fnatic!
And in their red, their opponents taking a page out of Fnatic's playbook with the Globals. We're gonna have Kyocha playing Karazim, Rich on Falstad, Tist playing Muradin, Sake on Brightwing, and finally Reset on his Greymane. Give it up for MVP Black! So strange to see MVP Black playing a highly global composition, but it makes sense to change things up when you see the Ana and Malthael come out wanting to have the strong disengage that Brightwing and Falstad can give you.
But then the proper response coming out from the members of Fnatic by just having so much wave clear within one hero that's not going to be too concerned with the pressure that MVP Black is now going to be able to have out there. It's really amazing, the drafting and thought process here for the members of Fnatic. You heard it from the analyst desk, but I share the same sentiment. It seems like they are just a level ahead of the members of MVP Black. And traditionally, you know, MVP has always relied on their mechanical skill to be able to overcome their opponent, and it seems like they are willing to do that here against Europe.
What do you think of this change-up in drafting? Do you feel like it is MVP Black drafting more scared? Because we know that the drafting has changed a lot for MVP Black since they brought in Noblesse to help them out in the drafting department as their coach.
I mean, MVP Black has been a very interesting team when it comes to their drafting. They used to be very rigid, very predictable, then kind of a little bit more wild where you'd see the, you know, Rich mixing things up with specific heroes here. Hold up, though. We got some action going in onto the top lane.
Yeah, the setup from that from Fnatic was beautiful, but having some escaping heroes there from MVP is going to come in handy. Kyoto was able to dash out, and Tis waited around as long as he needed to anchor, and then got himself out.
But you know, the shorter end of the question and the answer that I was talking about before is, it doesn't feel like I would use the word scared, but definitely maybe not enough planning ahead, right? With every decision, with every ban you make at this level of play, you need to be thinking 2 to 3 steps ahead, and it feels like they're drafting in the moment, if you will, Gilly.
Maybe it is that MVP Black really did feel like Ballistics would come out on top of the semifinal over Fnatic, but a 3-0 dominant fashion sleep dart there. Tis still being body blocked by Breeze. Finally, he gets around the corner, jukes out, and he is safe.
We're going to have ourselves the very first Shrine spawning into the middle lane. When it comes to who has Shrine control, who has some of the better wave clear, there is no better barbs going on to the new Barak, so he's not going to be able to provide much. A lot of this is on Gul'dan, who's under a lot of pressure from that initiation. MVP find themselves the very first kill here in game 2.
They may have a lot of globals, but they can still dive in, and a lot of that comes down to Reset, who is 9-0 in league play on his Greymane, one of his most potent heroes, and he will also be giving a lot of Shrine clear to the team as well.
And it's also paired with one of the most dominant strategies that we've seen out of the Eastern meta over the past couple of months. Having that Kharazim, Murden, and the Greymane all synergizing with their initiation. Rich finds himself in a bad spot here down below. The healing reduction, barrel roll away, but the sleep dart just out of range.
Ooh, he felt that on his tail feathers as Rich gets away. MVP Black still commanding the lead in skeletal defenders on the Shrine. Fnatic hoping that they could use the time that MVP Black was focused in the mid to get that kill. It just wasn't quite enough.
And talking about that initiation style that MVP Black is kind of making, I do want to bring to light, on the note of drafting, that they maybe have just made a brilliant slight adjustment to that. Did you watch the last initiation, the false dead flight, the Brightwing, all at the same point? Rather than having 3 people that can immediately follow up on the Murden, what if it's all 5?
That's a good point.
That's the strategy it seems like MVP Black is going for. Granted, the more variables we increase to these initiations, the less likely they are to happen. One time it has worked here against Fnatic. How many more will we see here from MVP?
Now, it kind of reminds me of how Zero Panda used to play, too, when they were back in the Chinese region, getting as many globals as they can so they could collapse with all 5. We'll see how it works out for MVP Black. Now they have found a Rich. Burrow charges out at the perfect timing because of the Storm Bolt. Now Tis doesn't want to allow Quagnix get away while MVP Black moves into position, but not fast enough to net them a kill.
That was very good positioning there and making sure that they weren't getting the round on Tis. Rich gonna fly up towards top, and Malthael using that level 1 there to make sure he can scoot right on out. Oh, Sleeping Dart, nobody's around to get that follow-up. What I was trying to say before was just the positioning on that kind of retreat there, making sure Tis didn't have the opportunity to round his body over the kill target. It would have been very likely we would have been a dead Quacknix if Tis was just a pixel over to the left-hand side.
MVP Black recognized that Fnatic were starting to move down into the bottom lane, and importantly, they came down to try to help out Greymane just in case Reset needed it, because he was soloing that Kozra camp in the bottom. They've also had a Mercenary camp in the mid, so they're setting up really well to have a strong push as we get ready for the next Shrine. All that remains is getting their Shaman camp in the top lane, and they're trying to use the camp to do whatever they can with it. It's a very common strategy that MVP Black loves to employ, is just get a camp and get even just a little bit of damage done, whatever they can to escort it along and start to bring down some of the structures. Any amount of structural damage is enough for them.
It matters a lot in a map like this, but hold up, in mid, Reset caught out a bit too far, disengaging in a couple of seconds. Brightwing's gonna get the teleport. Rich with that brilliant flight in. The members of MVP are going to be able to make it out, but it was very close there for a second.
Yeah, you can see just how long and how perfectly timed out the heal reduction was. First, Touch of Death from Malthael, then Biotic Grenade from Ana. That is a long amount of time where you can't even rely on something like a Divine Palm if you are not setting up correctly.
Kyocha got impaled.
Now.
He doesn't have a heal. Is he gonna get the tap? Not today. He goes down, and Fnatic could not have found themselves better timing, as that top Shrine is going to exist. They need to start it immediately if they have the interest of focusing on this Punisher, but it doesn't seem like that is the case. They're going to focus elsewhere onto the map because MVP Black is rounding those 10s and those heroics. It makes sense they want to forfeit this, but Rich may be out a smidge too far.
Yeah, maybe not respecting that Fnatic would know that the MVP Black wants to keep their Globals in lane.
He interrupted it. Now the Sleep Dart's going to be in position. He can't make it out.
He's
Swimpy
gone.
over the wall, snipes it down, and Rich is out of here.
Fnatic finds a second kill, starting the stagger deaths of MVP Black. All MVP can do is try to clear out this shrine and try to maintain composure in the face of a Fnatic who has found person after person here against MVP Black in the mid game.
It's very interesting whenever we get to see Rich on those side laners that are not as beefy. With the very first time we saw Rich kind of venture into those side lanes, it always was with those Chens, with those very heavy health bars focused heroes. But every time we see him go to the kind of squishies, those false stats, he does become a very prime target for his opponents. And I expect Fnatic to keep up that pressure on him constantly throughout this game.
And we should expect Rich to respond to that by playing safer in lane as he can so that he doesn't get caught out anymore. MVP Black have stabilized. They get the Punisher. Tist dives forward on top of a lot of the members. Kyocha, the Brightwing bomb, but horrified at the same time.
And they got on the other side of the wall, so they're able to make it out. Punisher leaps over. Cocoon goes down. The Gus to disengage. MVP is now going to retreat out, but another skirmish. A lot of fireworks going on, but nobody ends up going down to the synergy here of MVP Black. They have a lot of tools to choose which fight they do want to take. And until Fnatic applies enough pressure onto the map, essentially MVP Black gets to volunteer every type of initiation that Fnatic can force.
But we haven't really gotten to see the full effect of Fnatic just yet in teamfights. Not a single Tormented Souls has come out. So Fnatic, if they can get that set up, may be seeing a fight that goes a way different way for MVP Black. MVP go back and start the cycle, the endless cycle that they have with mercenary camps in between objectives. You see it on Dragon Shower, you see it here, just trying to make sure that they can get some push going somewhere and get an advantage out of one of them.
Yeah, and on a map like Infernal Shrines, it matters so very much because the objective's just not very good at sieging. It helps with team fighting and kills, but if you have a front wall to be able to block you and the rest of the members, Dwarf Toss over, it's going to have a bad time on a map like Infernal Shrines. You can see MVP always trying to question which initiation can they take, but never fully really kind of pulling the trigger here in this game. Again, giving a lot of respect over to the members of Fnatic.
Falstad has pushed just about as far as he should in that top lane, so he'll start to move back, going down with the team. Fnatic have Rhaegar in the bottom, trying to solo the camps, and he'll get it in time, but the setup from Tist, he really wants this Rhaegar kill. Smexy, though, runs out in the Ghost Bolt form. MVP Black very close to the 13 talent tier.
They managed to achieve the 13 talent tier. I would assume they're going to apply that pressure towards the middle fort as they have been whittling away at it over the long run here in this game. But other than that, the next major map objective, the next shrine, will be spawning as Fnatic rounds it, outside of any major, kind of wild picks here and there into this game. And so either team, it's really just who's going to pull ahead over the shrine phase, who gets the biggest advantage over these structures.
Mid really good for MVP Black since they've done so much fort damage there. Reset finishing Incendiary Elixirs, that's super good as well for MVP Black. Everything coming up aces despite the fact that they lost those 2 earlier stagger deaths. Making sure that they could get the shrine up top and take down the fort has stabilized them. As we are getting into 13 for Fnatic and the next shrine phase. MVP Black gets there first.
And so I noted a bit of the shrine control on the side of Fnatic early game, right as Quacknix went down. He is all of their shrine control. He has to move out to get that Fell Flame off, and MVP is going to look to rinse and repeat what they did over the first shrine phase. Get that global initiation. The minute you watch Tist all in there, everyone is going to get that follow-up. Quacknix has to find a way to survive here.
Brightwing as the person to shift in. That shield that you get from Phase Shield will be integral if the target gets all of the heal reduction from the team. Maybe what keeps them alive. Tist goes in, diving on top, look for the Brightwing because she goes separating, and Gul'dan is taken out.
Polymorph immediately onto Wubby as he got the Tormented Souls. He's blinking, dropping a lot of the heals. He's actually keeping himself alive very long. Disengage drop there from Reset, the flash thrown out, but Wubby's going to drop down. Tist is moving forward, Stormbolt and a couple, and it looks like they are going to find, nice Impale. 2 kills for MVP Black.
And
holding it on.
It surely would have been a third. It would have been Schwimpy, but Breeze coming in, saving the team. That is all, at least, that MVP Black will get. But the problem now is with those 2 kills, MVP Black will get a Punisher, and the fort is already down in the mid as they press forward for keep damage.
The members of Fnatic have to be scared here. They do have the Horrify still available. As the Punisher jumps over the wall, it's going to be a pretty easy bait here for Fnatic, but Tist, he's going to follow up very quick. Sidewalls drop though, so he is a pretty easy escape. 16 Talontier is going to drop after one of these turrets, though, and that is when MVP is going to pull the trigger if they ever are going to.
Has the Gust, has the Emerald Wind. Resets out of here.
Fnatic's getting very aggressive considering it's just a false set off into the side lane. Again, trying to punish Rich here. But the game sense here, the hesitation, one time were they able to catch him off. And since then, really being aware that that is the go-to for Fnatic to come back into this game. It's finding themselves a free fall stat.
That's also Fnatic, right? We talked about that yesterday when they were playing Tempo Storm. If they can like pop out their chest and force somebody away, even when maybe they shouldn't be able to do that, they'll try and see if they can. And a lot of that's on Breeze. Breeze, who was given so much to get here to the global championship.
Another polybomb, he goes in right onto the Gul'dan Precons and Ancestral drop immediately to try and keep him alive. Horrify split off a reset, but the damage on to Quacknix is too real. He is unable to survive. The Cocoon reveal goes on to Rich, and they're trying to walk away now.
Yeah, there's a lot of members low as Wubby gets in with the Tormented Souls. Despite losing Gul'dan, they're still hoping that they can get a kill, and they will tie it up 1-1.
Kyocha was unable to move in and actually get that palm off and keep Rich alive here. So the continuous fight here works out for Fnatic, even being down a 16 talent here.
Such a good Ancestral, recognizing that it has to come out earlier, and then Rich getting put in the Cocoon wasn't fast enough to save the life of Gul'dan, but having Wubby be able to jump back in with the Tormented Souls, getting the Reaper's Mark in so they can get in the perfect position for that, and then the Impale from the side. Rich could only separate out so that he allowed the rest of his team to escape.
That's just such an uncharacteristic thing for MVP Black to do, to have that big of a statistical advantage and that big of a talent tier advantage, and to show any signs of weakness here. Once again, Fnatic holds on no matter what in their series. It just shows why they have been so dominant within not only Europe, but the world over the past 4 to 5 months.
You have to wonder what it feels like for MVP Black to be that dominant, and yet they went into the Eastern Clash, they lose to Tempest, they drop down, they go back up, then they lose to Ballistics, and yet they're so favored. And then they come here, and maybe they don't feel like they're favored, but everyone keeps talking about the strength of MVP Black. They don't lose a single series. They went something like 46-9 or 46-6 games in all throughout Phase 2. So when they win a fight like that, they get the first kill, and then Fnatic is still willing to bring it to them and then get a kill from that.
I wish I could tell you that it feels good, but I'm pretty confident that it is very devastating. The mentality for MVP Black has to be rather scared, and it feels like it is showing a little bit with their play here. But I do wonder, with that note, is there a breaking point where we see the opposite happen, where the snowball and morale works into their favor? That what is the one kill, the one moment? Does it take a game? Does it take a keep? What is it going to be where they suddenly go, nope, we're done, Fnatic. We have the confidence back. We're ready to be MVP Black and get what we think is ours, an HGC Final Global Championship.
When they lost Cursed Hollow to Ballistics in the league play, the next game they played was very respectful, kind of the same. And then the minute that they got a win, the next game from there, completely different MVP Black, invading camps left and right, putting the aggression on from the very beginning of the game. So maybe it is that they can win this game, but I'm really scared if they don't win this game, that they may not be able to recover.
Rich is nowhere to get the flight immediately in here. The stun follow-up. Kyocha's going to drop the palm, but it seems like it's a bit too early. He dashes out, drops the heal, but the Ana Grenade removes the healing. He's unable to survive, and Fnatic get another kill.
They get the kill. Breeze still chasing on. Sake uses Emerald Wind, but Wubby has the Reaper's Mark now on Tist. He can go in. The turnaround polymorph. Malthael's blown up.
Rich does gust the members of Fnatic back. Breeze in a bad spot for a moment, but he's able to collect with the group here. They are not done. Fnatic is still very hungry here, wanting to try and force this fight before the 16 talents here. Nice sleeping grenade there is going to remind the members of MVP Black what Ana is capable of. But nothing gained too much here for Fnatic. Great turn, though, on the side of MVP. Willing to recollect themselves and not just give Fnatic what they could have had with that one kill.
Yeah, the Gust Isolation and Wubby being the only one who was within sight, wanting to use the Reaper's Mark while it was on, got a little hasty, and the punishment was severe from MVP Black.
We're 15 seconds away from impossible initiation. No, they don't even wait up. They're going to go in. Ancestral use and the Cocoon. Look at Rich trying to flank Quacknix. That's a 1v1 he can't handle. But we see Ana go down as well. MVP is open this up.
MVP are everywhere, and they are winning this fight. Rich flies in. Doesn't quite have Gust just yet, though. The rest of the team comes in. They've got Tormented Souls, but the immediate polymorph.
He's going to be able to get Emerald Winded away. Breeze doesn't have that much mana. He drops it onto the Impale. It's going to keep him up. Wubby goes in. He gets the kill.
He gets the kill, but
going to be able to take out the keep, but is this where they stop? MVP, you know that they're going to be wanting to try and take this core. They go in, not able to land any crowd control onto Breeze. If Breeze was stunned by that, you know that that could have been, it would have been game. So very good job by him getting away. But MVP's got the 20 talent here, and we are only 15 seconds away from what I would expect to be the last Punisher of this game.
Yeah, MVP Black can go back, lick their wounds, get reset, and get to the shrine, clear out the waves. But it's Fnatic who has to clear out this bottom lane now, losing the keep. That is a problem because the shrine is in the top lanes. They need to deal with that. The towers, as our amazing observers showing, are already down in the top lane. So that is a bit of a headache for Fnatic, with MVP Black having 20 and having a presence on the shrine.
They caught a Cocoon onto the Bright Wing. She has an Ice Block, but that's only a couple of seconds. Can the Gus get there in time?
Emerald Wind, yes, they have the cleansing dash so that she can Emerald Wind out. Continuous wins. Sake survives.
If he goes down there, the members of Fnatic can turn this game around. It secures themselves a Punisher for the Punisher. It secures the top fort. It may be the keep at that point in time. Very good job from MVP Black, mitigating their losses here. Sake, though, he's still being hunted by Fnatic.
This little Bright Wing that could live just barely. The Bright Wing that could. MVP Black is dealing with Wubby, catches Wubby and takes him down on top of the shrine.
He was going for a play to try and get that collapse up into that top shrub and flank the members here of MVP, but able to sniff it out, catch him off guard. Now a 45-second advantage for them. The 20 talent here, as we said before, and catapults are collecting there in the bottom lane. Fnatic is in a lose-lose scenario, it feels like here. There's the epic flight. No Gus yet here from Rich.
Not yet. Tist on the other side. Horrify is forced now to push Tish in a bad situation. Ancestor healing saves Quackix. Saki is still going down. Fnatic are able to get the 1 kill, but they're losing so much from it.
It's cost them an Ana later on. The dash is going to be dropped there, and Nubrak going in to try and stop them from moving to the core, but Rich is going to go and gust him right on in. MVP Black look like they have done it here, Gilly. It looks like they're going to be able to tie this one right on up.
Fnatic won their semifinal 3-0, and MVP Black did the same. But Dreadnought, I dare say, we've got a series on our hands as we are going 1-1 in this best-of-5 grand finals.
Sticking to what they know when their backs are against the wall, the Muradin, the Greymane, and the Kharazim synergy, but just with a bit of European flavor, maybe a bit of Fnatic or Ballistics, depending on which global team you want to refer to. But either way, MVP's innovation and execution was there, and it is the reason that we found ourselves at this time.
You've just got to be amazed at the synergy of MVP Black. We've talked about the synergy from Fnatic, but that cleansing touch to save Sake so that he could Emerald Win and get out, that's the kind of play you expect to see in the grand finals of the HGC finals. That kind of play that we have known from the double support stylings of Korea.
I am absolutely confident that Grubby and friends have a lot more replays to be able to break down, so we're going to send it over to you guys and see what your thoughts were.
Indeed, strong control from MVP Black there in game number 2 with the gusts, with the winds, everything to try and stop the Malfail and the band of boys that we do have from Sweden. Very, very difficult for Fnatic to really get too much of a hold onto that game, Grubby.
Yeah, and plus it wasn't just used defensively. Before the draft, we were skeptical of how defensively MVP Black drafted, but they actually used Falstad and Muradin to jump in with Emerald Wind Brightwing bombs to play very offensive. There was a lot more dive than it looked like. We thought maybe Kharazim, Mura, Greymane can dive, but what about the backline? Well, they get right back. They get right back in there. And fights could only start still. Even having said that, they can only start in one way. It's if Muradin, Tist, gets the jump on either Ana, Rhaegar, or Gul'dan. Preferably Ana and Rhaegar at the same time. And I got a cool moment here as we jump into this. You know, we are in the situation 1917. And at this moment, Fnatic has this mantra. Pause. As we pause it for a second. The mantra is, we are level 17 versus 19. It is equal talents. We have 3 keeps available still. And for all intents and purposes, this looks pretty okay, you know? Yeah, Malthael is dead, but so is Kharazim, and Falstad isn't here yet. So you don't feel a lot of pressure here. But this looks like breakfast to Tist, to Muradin. He's got that level 16 talent, so let's roll it forward and see what Tist is going to be doing. He's going to make an aggressive move there, gets the double stun, prioritizes on the Ana. Everyone is ready, but unfortunately here, Smex shows he's only human, hits the Ancestral on Breeze, who did Bro Charge right in there. You know, that Ancestral hits on Shrimpy. There's actually enough space here to save the rest of the members and keep this a 4 versus 4, which could be the crux of a comeback for Fnatic. But these kind of Tist engages have been happening the entire tournament. He's the warrior to watch, I feel like, of this tournament, and just insane engages, always coming from where you least expect it.
I mean, regardless of if the supports were under threat, it felt like Gul'dan was under a lot of threat for the same reasons.
Jay and I were watching this, man. We saw Gul'dan get hit over and over and over again. Very aggressive positioning, very forward positioning, trying to get most of his damage off of his fells, actually. And as a result, got caught many times.
The whole thing about it is that it's not a strange hero to him, and we know him to be good, but it just felt like there was one time on the shrine in the middle where Gul'dan literally died in the middle of the shrine. It's generally a poke-style composition. He ended up going for Echoed Corruption instead of the extended Fell Flame quest, and so he had to get in a little bit tighter in those areas, and it goes to what Grubby was saying, is that Muradin now had a little bit more primary target. Generally, when you play that style, it's more of a shrine control. He got very aggressive multiple times, and they punished Gul'dan heavily in that game.
Well, last thing I want to say on this also is it's the first time we've seen Rich kind of top lane Falstad, then eventually flying around very aggressive. And Grubby and I were also watching the game pretty critical of some of the flights we saw, some of the gusts at the beginning of the game. But I do feel like at the end of it, when Tist was able to set up those opportunities, he came into his own a little bit in the hero. And as was said, by the casters there, was a little bit of European flavor in this MVP Black draft. So adaptation being shown.
And it ties up the series 1-1. We're going to go to a short break here for the HGC Grand Finals. And when we return, game number 3 of the Grand Finals.
The 2017 Heroes Global Championship Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA. In his youth, Genji Shimada lived a carefree and self-indulgent life. But when Genji refused to join his older brother Hanzo in running their clan's vast criminal empire, he was mercilessly cut down and left for dead. Bound by Overwatch and given a new cybernetic body, Genji struggled with his dual nature until the Omnic monk Zenyatta taught him to find inner peace. Now in the Nexus, Genji uses his elite ninja skills to fight for what's right. Genji is an opportunistic, mobile assassin who can tear apart a weak backline. Genji's trait, Cyber Agility, allows him to quickly traverse the battleground. When activated, Genji leaps into the air and lands at his targeted location, jumping over any impassable terrain in his path. His first ability, Shuriken, launches a fan of 3 ninja stars in the targeted direction. This ability can store up to 3 charges, and its cooldown refreshes all 3 charges at once. Deflect is Genji's primary method of self-defense. When activated, he briefly gains the Protected status, preventing all damage to himself and dealing damage to his nearest enemy whenever he is attacked, prioritizing heroes. Swift Strike serves as both a damage and mobility tool. Genji dashes forward a set distance, damaging all enemies in his path. If an enemy hero dies soon after being hit by Swift Strike, its cooldown is reset. Genji's first heroic ability, Dragon Blade, works similarly to how it does in Overwatch. When activated, he draws his sword and gains a powerful melee attack for a brief window of time. While Dragon Blade is active, hitting Q or R causes him to lunge forward and swing his sword in a wide arc, damaging all enemies he hits. X Strike offers Genji a more front-loaded heroic option in terms of damage. He leaps into the air and carves 2 giant slashes into the ground, damaging all enemies they hit.
He then delivers a third and final attack as he lands, dealing heavy damage to all enemies in the targeted area. Orphaned as a young child, Valeera Sanguinar has led a life of hardship and adventure. She forged iron bonds of friendship with Brawl Baremantle and Varian Rin while fighting alongside them as a gladiator. Even after becoming Varian's advisor and bodyguard, she held on to her independence, which she still maintains as a member of the secretive Uncrowned. Now in the Nexus, Valeera is loyal to neither the Horde nor the Alliance, but to her friends and herself. Valeera is a quick and deceptive assassin who strikes from the shadows with deadly combo attacks. Valeera uses energy instead of mana to cast her abilities. Unlike mana, energy constantly replenishes at a rapid rate. She also generates combo points when using certain abilities on enemy heroes, which she spends to make her finishing move much more powerful. Valeera's first ability is Sinister Strike. Valeera dashes forward, striking all enemies in a straight line. If she hits an enemy hero, she stops immediately, generates a combo point, and the ability's cooldown is significantly reduced. With Blade Flurry, Valeera can damage multiple enemies at once by spinning her blades in an area around her, generating a combo point for each hero she hits. Eviscerate, Valeera's finishing move, can only be used if she has combo points. Casting this ability spends all of her points to slash an enemy with both blades at once. The more combo points she spends, the greater damage Eviscerate deals. Valeera's trait is Vanish. Just like the WoW Rogue ability, activating Vanish immediately places Valeera in stealth, granting her an entire new set of abilities. All of her abilities in stealth generate combo points and bring her out of stealth when she uses them. Ambush is Valeera's signature combat opener, stabbing an unsuspecting enemy with her daggers for heavy damage. If you need crowd control, Cheap Shot allows Valeera to stun an enemy while also dealing a small amount of damage. Garrote is a particularly vicious opener. Along with its initial damage, this ability silences an enemy and deals additional damage over time. The first of Valeera's heroic abilities is Smoke Bomb. She creates a cloud of smoke at her current location. As long as she remains in the cloud, she takes reduced damage and can't be revealed, even while attacking and using her abilities. When using Cloak of Shadows, Valeera shrouds herself in darkness and becomes unstoppable. Valeera also takes reduced ability damage and clears herself of all existing damage over time effects.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the HGC Finals here for 2017, as we are in a 1-1 situation between two previous world champions, Fnatic and MVP Black. And in the previous game, we saw MVP Black asserting themselves quite a bit, being able to control the battlefield a whole lot more than game number one, and they were able to do very well in that second game.
Yeah, I mean, there was like two things that made me unsure of it. One is Rich's false start play in the beginning, but like Wolf said, he really rounded out, adapted, played the macro game, and even his flight and gust ins were more judicial, more well-timed, and more precise. The second thing that did worry is Malthael's effect. Malthael Wooby was absolutely crazy. I think it's the best thing that Fnatic had going for them. But everything else looked really good for MVP Black. They reinserted themselves into the grand finals, and they said, again, winning is what we do.
Let's find out where we're going to be going for game number 3 here, as the battleground will be revealed. MVP Black is going to move us to Battlefield of Eternity.
I was just about to say, we haven't even been on MVP Black's best maps yet. That's what's scary to me for Fnatic. We talk about BOE, Tomb, which Fnatic is good at as well, Dragon Share, things like that are still going to be available as we move forward. I think Dragon Share might have actually been banned there, but yeah, the fact that we are just now approaching MVP Black's picks, this is a scary, scary battleground. We already saw what they did in their previous series. They steamrolled through that. They'll probably try and do the same here.
Yeah, I think strategically this is Black's best map. And it's not always about the team fighting. And we talk about how Europe and Fnatic specifically, obviously in this Grand Finals, but as a region as a whole, are so good at macro, so good at using those heroes like Falstad to control the macro aspects, whereas we saw Black just control with Global's team fighting. But this is going to be about the draft, about the objective.
All right, currently 1-1 here in this best of 5. Fnatic and MVP Black for $500,000 for first place. We'll do battle on Battlefield of Eternity.
Still banning the ETC. Want none of that. So first pick Muradin locked in instantly, taking control of that warrior, which we've seen Tist do phenomenal on so far. Get that in the hands of Fnatic. Safe start, to say the least.
Yeah, and this actually does, I think, hurt MVP Black quite a bit to run this style. They must have a different warrior prepared or planned. We've seen a lot of Johanna in this tournament. You know, Grubby likes to talk about the really bad win rate of Johanna
2-6
in this tournament. But let's see what Fnatic wants to run if that warrior becomes appropriate here. But yeah, I mean, Muradin has been the go-to pick, picked in second rotation both times here for MVP Black.
And MVP Black hasn't shown a predilection to take a Nubarak when other warriors are unavailable. Now, I even dare say that Fnatic won't let Tist Muradin happen again, absent an ETC on their own side. Just Tist Muradin finds too many weaknesses. So I think that part is over. So we'll see if that's true.
One thing that we actually saw the other day was a Samuro. Now, historically, I remember watching Fnatic bust this out at mid-season brawl, and everybody was kind of caught off guard. It was something that Wubby kind of started to formulate a plan, a good way to use this. And Grubby talked about how this is his best battleground. It's almost impossible to die in the hands of a skilled player, and Wubby at the top of that list. If he does pick it, it would be towards the latter end. MVP Black also, by the way, has played Samuro on this battleground during their league phase.
So that's definitely an option. I'm confident that Wubby could play that hero well if he wanted to. I don't have scrim data, but that should be a good pick, but we'll see if it comes out later.
It's one of the more wild picks that we can consider.
Rhaegar, okay, so that's actually pretty cool because Arthas counters Samuro pretty well, so you know it's still possible.
Arthas is actually one of the most picked heroes for MVP Black. I believe the last 3 times that they've played on this battleground, they've picked it. So it's a very traditional pick for them on this battleground.
They like to play it when they want to run a more defensive style because it allows a very defensive setup against aggressive dive type comps. In this case, I think it's this Arthas pick for Fnatic is more about controlling Greymane specifically. And Greymane can be very dive oriented. You already have the Kharazim on the side, so Arthas is strong against both heroes here. So it's a very safe pick for Fnatic. We've seen it picked on this battleground in Korea and Europe alike against compositions that run the Greymane or other heavy melee.
Plus, now you have Muradin and Arthas, both control Greymane pretty well. And keep in mind, there can be 2 Greymanes. And it's not that he's pregnant, it's that Abathur could be, you know, coming out here for MVP Black.
I'm glad you clarified that. That was my original conclusion.
Mine too. I'm like, all right.
Everyone's thinking it, might as well say. But yeah, I mean, Tyrael, Abathur would be like a great follow-up to this initial draft so far.
This is a very control style for Fnatic to control that. You talked about controlling the potential aggression coming in from Greymane, but it also gives the added protection for a potential Li Ming or Vala if it were on the side of Fnatic. Instead, we've got Li Ming over on the other side. This is incredible race potential here with Greymane and Li Ming. I wonder if we'll be seeing a Vala coming out here from Fnatic.
Fnatic is going full tattoo now. Running through their head is what is going to be the last warrior by MVP Black. I just saw your expression. Thanks, Jao.
Can't believe.
That's what I'm going for. MVP Black has one more warrior pick. Fnatic needs to answer which one it's going to be.
I would like Grubby said. I would like we're under all our heads, Jao, but I would like to see potentially a Tyrael pick here for MVP Black. It seems counterintuitive in a lot of ways because you don't have a strong front line and Tyrael will get burned down very quickly to a lot of potential types of DPS by Fnatic. But I think when you have Ana with incredible sustained healing coming through with Kharazim, you just kind of protect and poke the Immortals, something that Black has shown us already against Expert, albeit with a different type of Li Ming composition. I think it's a very safe play. Let's see if Fnatic starts to sniff that out.
All right. So if Sanctification comes out, Leyline Seal can put a stop to that. Stasis overrides invincibility.
One of the heroes that it's been a while since MVP Black ran on this battleground, something that has pretty decent frontline control and makes skill shots very easy to hit is a taunt in the form of Garrosh. Garrosh, obviously, if he gets the toss back, it's kind of a counter there with Medivh to make sure, because Arthas doesn't have great mobility, Rhaegar doesn't have great mobility in terms of escape once they're on the backline. Muradin's kind of the only one there, and you get the added protection and a whole lot more with Shrumpy on that character.
I think another potential pick here is, well, there's the Johanna coming out. We talked about it from the beginning. 2-6 indeed. I was going to say, you know, if it's not the Tyrael, I was thinking maybe a Nubrock is still a strong option, even though it's very uncommon to see MVP Black run this hero. You just remove the Rhaegar, remove that healing, remove that Ancestral, burst everyone down, you get the resets from Li Ming. But yeah, I like this pick. It's very strong against the composition that we're seeing here. Vala specifically, you remove a lot of that damage, and you can really win the race with this. You've got so much poke, Greymane, Li Ming, Ana with the Li Ming for Nano, and you just blind the Vala and remove that damage.
I want to ask though as well, in this world where double support meta is very prevalent, and Ana has kind of burst onto the scene where she's able to nullify healing in its completion in 100% for a certain window, is Medivh a very smart pick, because it's still kind of acting like a support, but you're not healing, you're just applying invincibility.
Yeah, it is smart.
The biggest thing about that frontline control that I talked about with Muradin and Arthas, it allows you to absorb a lot of damage because you have that double frontline.
Right.
Oh, by the way, Li Ming has very telegraphed abilities, and if you're trying to deny that poke style that Li Ming does so well on this, then just shield the target in the front line. It's on a shorter cooldown than her Arcane Orb, so you easily have control to just eat all those shots continuing to come in. Just eat the magic missiles, and then put the Force of Will on for the Orb. It's a very controlled style here to really take advantage of the Vala.
I think you can also make the argument, however, though, that if all the protection is spent on that target against the Orbs to kind of act like as a linebacker there at the front to try to block that damage, you have the ability to, just with longer sustained damage from Greymane, break through that. And I don't think that Medivh is very strong against that. Sure, it can kind of help against cocktails, but not really. And that's why I think it's really cool that MVP Black has two types of damage here, both very strong at poking. But you give me faces, J-Hal.
It was
we've got to work on your sports knowledge a little bit.
It's time. Game number 3. I'm going to cut it here. We're heading over to our commentary team to figure out who is going to take the lead in this best-of-5 grand finals.
11-0. That is MVP Black's league record on Battlefield of Eternity. But on the other side, we've got Shwimpy's Medivh and Dreadnought. That's kind of a throwback to last BlizzCon for Fnatic.
Yeah, last BlizzCon was the first time that we were able to see kind of Shwimpy bust out the old Medivh, and he had some of the best performances I feel like I had ever seen on the hero. It has continued throughout all of HGC, and you know it's something that MVP Black has got to be concerned about. Medivh, he breaks the rules of Heroes of the Storm, and Fnatic is very, very effective with him.
Well, let's see if Medivh is enough to deal with the terror that MVP Black is on Battlefield of Eternity. We are all tied up as we head into Game 3 of this grand final between Fnatic and MVP Black.
On the blue side is Breeze on a Muradin. We're going to have Quacknix playing the Vala. We have Shwimpy on his Medivh. Next up is Wubby on the Arthas. And we're going to have Rhaegar played by Smexy. Let's hear it for Fnatic!
And in the red, Sake playing Karazim. Reset, looking for resets on Li Ming. Tist playing Johanna. Kyocha playing Ana. And finally, Rich on Greymane. Give a cheer for MVP Black!
Now, Gilly, I know I don't mean to bring up bad memories here, but we've all been there. Initial release Li Ming, the S of Johan. We've got S of Johanna, though, in this version. The synergy between the two, it is the exact same kind of element as long as the pairing with that Condemn into the max range orb. It is so much AoE damage for the members of Fnatic to deal with, but as we said before, as the analyst desk broke down, that Medivh pick was so very clutch here for the members of Fnatic to stop that initiation that MVP Black desires so consistently through their gameplay.
Yeah, MVP Black want that pull him in, knock him down with the bowling ball, but Johanna can be difficult to engage with. But this is Tist's Johanna. Tist's understanding of what he needs to do and how the team needs to react, and they have both Leeming and Greymane, who will likely be looking for resets if we see it go for the throat, which just seems fitting for Rich playing Greymane.
It does seem very fitting for him. You know, always want to be able to make sure he gets the kills, makes the flashy plays. One of the most impressive players in the world, making a name for himself since, honestly, he stepped up for a long, long time ago under the name of Oreo Man. But MVP Black, as you brought up before, their track record on Battlefield of Eternity, it feels like I never appreciated the way that this map was supposed to be played until they walked in once the map released, and they just had so many consistent sub-10-minute games just dominantly overcoming their opponents here. And Fnatic's got to find a way to be able to stall out this game and make sure it doesn't go into that direction, because with the composition MVP Black's drafted, if Fnatic is on even footing post-heroics, not even just because teamfight capabilities, I just feel they'll hold on a lot better. But if MVP Black gets aggressive, they start throwing out the punches on the Karazim and find resets, I think that this is going to be a very quick game here for Fnatic.
Yeah, it does seem like MVP Black have slowed down on Battlefield of Eternity as other teams have sort of figured out how they approach this battleground, which is to get the first Immortal, get a big experience advantage off of that, get some kills, and then get heroic abilities at the exact same time as you get the second Immortal. Your opponents are so far away from the heroic abilities that you don't stand a chance. Breeze stepping out, diving away from MVP Black. Now Tist is under fire. This is stuck in Frozen Tempest.
Yeah, he's going to have to get an Iron Skin or a heal. Maybe nice Breeze throwing over the Dwarf Toss over the wall, able to hit the Storm Bolt, but nobody able to move in too far. I wanted to say that the fact that this is going to be a trade, or was a trade over the first halftime show, is a huge win for the members of Fnatic, considering that exact same aspect here. But Wubby's in a bit of a bad spot, trying to get the peel there. Portal's down if he needs a way out. MVP Black, they retreat, now recollect as they're going to move into this Immortal.
Big orb for Reset as he chunked down a lot of the members of Fnatic. But the problem here for Reset is that he's out of mana and doesn't have Astral Presence, instead getting power hungry. So this will be a boost of mana to him, being able to get the first Immortal of the game and get the couple of globes that come with it.
And again, this is not that healthy of an Immortal. This is a big win for Fnatic if they can stall it out to that level, just go even in it. Even if they lose the objective, it just cannot be that 50, 60, 70% shielded Immortal that we know MVP Black is so effective of obtaining. But here we are. How much damage can we see them get up on the bottom line?
Yeah, poke is crucial for Fnatic, which is why that Force of Will came out on Quacknix. He is running the Hungering Arrow build, so with that Monster Hunter, as long as he can throw out the Hungering Arrows consistently, you'll be able to burn that down. Shielding already gone as Fnatic gets forward. All they're doing with the portal is just creating space for Quacknix to burn down that Immortal freely, so they take minimal damage on the fort.
And it's only going to get worse as if they round the 13 talents here, having that essentially almost 100% uptime, only a second downtime between Portal 1 and Portal 2. It makes it to where MVP Black will always have to second guess their initiations. Talking about an initiation, though, Fnatic here questioning if they want to give up this camp for free. Even Arthas making the flank down. A lot of damage there on Schwimpy, though, forces the portal.
But the faster rotation was here for MVP Black, and they're going to walk away getting this camp. So do they push along with it, as we've seen them do before, trying to make up for the fact that they didn't get the fort completely down with the Immortal, going forward along with this Cosra camp? They're still keeping a lot of members here, but they send Sake back up to make sure that he's still soaking the experience, but does so safely, so he's going to miss out a little bit.
If this laning mismatch continues for long enough, this will be a pretty big advantage for the members of MVP Black. Sake on the Karazim has not that good of wave clear, even when he is end up using his E and putting out as much damage as he can. Still takes like, 45 minutes it feels like. It's honestly only about a couple of seconds, but it's a lot slower than that of the Arthas. So the members of MVP need to mix it up. They understand that. Rich is kind of transferring around, making sure that they don't get too much damage for free here onto the front walls.
Fnatic starting earlier on getting their Shaman camp with the good merking heroes they have of Rhaegar and Vala. MVP Black sending a couple up to the top, but it's been sniffed out from Fnatic, and Schwimpy and Wubby will steal that away.
You're highlighting the last game, and it comes to life here in game number 3. They're just flexing a bit over the members of MVP Black, scaring them off the objective, because that was a flat 2 versus 2. Very capable for the members to take it. Not even portal range distance. That was 2 objectives at once for Fnatic. And it's that level of respect that we used to only see out of the Korean regions, where it would be, again, we talked about Noblesse. He just walks up and he's like, this is going to be my camp now, 1 versus 5. But we see Fnatic here able to bring that against a team as formidable as MVP.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see Fnatic using that. We're the global champions. Respect us. Get out of our camp. And they get the double camp push in top and bottom lane. MVP Black nearly almost lose Rich, but do get their Shaman in the top. But Fnatic, because of the amount of pressure that they've done, have the lead on the Immortal phase, this second phase.
Nice sleeper dart thrown out by Kyo, which is going to force Breeze to kind of just, you know, take a little nap there out in a bad spot. Immortal phase is kicked off into the halftime show. Fnatic got a huge advantage over that first half. That was very well done because of the macro pressure they were able to apply. And as I said before, I'll keep saying it when these Immortals go up, that has got to be the game plan for Fnatic. If they can stall that out, play it slow, it's not whether or not they get the Immortal, it's just making sure MVP Black doesn't get a great Immortal.
Dread, you can't sleep on Fnatic. Even though MVP Black won the last game, they're still tied in this best of 5 and anything can happen. Sleep Dart hits Wubby. Gonna follow up with the grenade as the reset throws things out.
Did you see the timing on that orb? It was the second Force of Will it drops. He immediately is gonna hit that orb. Just showing the prowess of reset on his legendary Li Ming. It's a 1-4 split for MVP Black. Expect the members of Fnatic to posture up. It looks like they're doing so. Portal laid, 2 members split, not able to land the Stormbolt though.
Tist is the one furthest out as Sake comes up. All of MVP Black are here ready to jump on top of Fnatic, but excellent Howling Blast from Wubby to get the disengage for Fnatic. So Rich will be sent back down to the bottom Immortal. MVP Black still trying to punish the lack of poke, only just having the Vala there as the pick, but the portal's down.
And Tis is almost out of mana as well. Fnatic is able to secure the remainder of that Immortal, saving the rest of his mana to make sure he gets the Iron Skin out. And now Fnatic find themselves with their very own Immortal here in Game 3.
Immortal will go to the top lane. We are neck and neck between the two teams with the experience. Breeze Dwarf tosses in to get in place for Stormbolt. The Sake close enough to the towers that he is just fine. Here comes the Immortal for the push. Lots of range poke for the members of MVP Black, so trying to bring down the shielding.
And because of the dominant laning of Arthas, and again, the lack of solo laners, hold up though, the Stormbolt before the Iron Skin puts enough pressure. Sake tries to go in, throwing out those Fists of Fury to scare off Quacknix here. But I was going to say, without the Greymane, because the laning mismatch, that makes it to where there is so little damage to this Immortal, anti-siege available for MVP Black, only relying on reset, and he's pretty low on mana himself.
Yeah, as the analyst has mentioned, MVP Black are way more focused on all 5 being together. Portal's there, but Tis stays strong in the front line, and nobody dares to dive in on the back line of MVP Black, who have finally pushed back Fnatic.
Keep in mind that first team to get a kill in that type of situation, especially if that went over to Fnatic, it would have quickly tipped over to that Heroics. Leyline Seal immediately get the follow-up there. MVP understand, though, they are going to get this retreat here, stall it out a little bit longer, and until they manage to secure themselves their own Heroics, at this point in time, Fnatic's going to be able to use that kind of bullying we saw before, but you know, a little bit more understandably so now with this window.
Yeah, and Fnatic are going to be able to increase that a lot more once they get the big power spikes of Medivh. They're sitting at 23 stacks for Master Touch, now 25 as he's gotten a bunch, and once he gets quickening at 13, you talked about it, the portal uptime being so good for the team. That's when we can see Fnatic really come online with their aggression, and generally that's when we see Fnatic come online anyway in the types of compositions that they run. They like to wait until they at least have heroic abilities before they strike.
And though we didn't get it into the last game, this is one of the few maps where Syndragosa, I don't want to use the word meta, but she pops up here and there. You know, she likes to freeze down all of the structure, so I like the fact that the members of Fnatic are holding on to that though. No Haymaker, and sadly we commit to Army of the Dead, but it's going to enable that team fight. This is where I expect Fnatic to really be a problem for the members of MVP Black, unless we see Rich or Reset just popping off with that backline DPS.
No Sleep Dart yet. MVP Black has their heroic abilities. We're not seeing Divine Palm, 7-sided strike chosen by Sake. And of course a nano boost for Ana for MVP Black.
Traditionally, normally I would say, I'm pretty hesitant to support 7-sided strikes. Okay. But this is one of the few cases where I think it is kind of a must for MVP Black. Even if they save somebody with a palm, the long team fight is not in their favor. They're going to be out sustained. They're all going to be out gap closed. So what they need to do with this raw DPS composition, I know it seems surprising, Gilly, but they just need to flat kill them. And they need to throw out the DPS, bring the battle to Fnatic.
Well, they can't bring the battle now, at least not in the way they would like, because Blessed Shield didn't connect, but that'll be up soon enough. But not for the immediate start as Breeze went forward looking for a Stormbolt.
Yeah, a bit of miscommunication there from the rest of the members. 7-sided ends up going down. It's just going to deter Fnatic and push them back a smidge longer. Vala separating from the squad. Going to use those brilliant level 1 through 7 talents to make sure she gets that damage onto the Immortal.
Though MVP Black have really good Immortal poke between Greymane and Li Ming, they have been way more focused just on defending, and that has allowed Fnatic to get this free damage on the Immortal.
But if they clump in chokeholds like that, that's where I expect Tis to really get the value out of it, because it condemns and get the initiation. And a lot of that situation comes down to the lack of hard CC on a frontliner. When Blessed Shield's off cooldown, the standard Johanna problem, she cannot get the fight that she wants to initiate, especially into an Arthas. You have to pop the Iron Skin just to even keep up with them.
Yeah, she at least has conviction. Speaking of that Arthas, Wubby is moving it forward onto all of MVP Black. So is Breeze jumping in the back line.
Oh,
Landline
that
seal is
Ancestral!
out.
It ends up landing there for Smex. Force of Will going to be used for Schwimpy and keep him alive. Look at Wubby onto reset. The sleeping dart goes down on top of him. We already see Schwimpy diving on the side, and Sake ends up using seven-sided strike to keep himself alive. He's able to make it out.
This fight is on all fronts, but Tis barely staying alive.
Oh!
Has the Iron Skin, and reset with an orb obliterates Rhaegar.
And for the first time, MVP Black now is going to set themselves ahead of Fnatic and get a lot of damage here on to this Immortal. Luckily for the members of Fnatic, we're at a point in time where death timers are not long enough to secure the remainder of this Immortal. They will be able to spawn up, recollect themselves, and be able to force this fight over the next half of the Immortal. But that was a brilliant team fight coming out from MVP Black. They were just the focus and being able to split the members of Fnatic and not keep them clump, I would argue, is part of the reason they were successful there. In a full 5-on-5 death ball, as the analyst said, and I've been trying to say through this game, I do feel like MVP Black will struggle, but if you split them up, focus on small skirmishes, every hero, except for Johanna, is very, very successful in these minor trades and not death ball-y strategies.
Yeah, so much of that came down to using a seven-sided strike to allow Sake to stay alive for a long time, and then the focus on keeping Reset alive. Wubby in danger, has Army of the Dead if necessary, but not even going to use it, just gets out in time.
He's able to make it out through the portal. Wubby questioning if he wants to move up. Leyline Seal is off cooldown. It's going to be used, only landing onto 2. Reset able to get the dodge.
Army.
Army dropped. Force of Will as well to keep him up. Stormbolt does end up landing on Johanna, but she's got her Iron Skin. She's able to make it out. Reset, or excuse me, Rich gets hit by the Howling Blast. And it doesn't look like Fnatic is going to actually fully initiate this fight.
No, the poke is just not quite there for MVP Black to get this Immortal, but Fnatic are fully focused on just drawing this out as long as they can. They have sent nobody up to even poke the Immortal of MVP Black at this point. They're just pushing back MVP Black further and further toward their base.
The longer they can solve this out, the more likely that they are going to have the Leyline Seal. Breeze able to hit the Stormbolt, door toss in, but the peel from the Condemn is there. Schwimpy in the backlines, he gets the Ancestral, he's going to keep himself up, but Breeze is low, there's a Force of Will, 2-man Stormbolt, and then they turn it around, they get the pick on the Breeze, they get the pick on the Wubby, and Reset is popping off!
He takes out 3 members in the blink of an eye. That's what it's all about for MVP Black with the Nano Boost on Reset. He gets so many resets, and now MVP Black finally are rewarded for their efforts with a half-shielded Immortal and 13, a full level ahead of Fnatic.
MVP Black's damage composition does carry over away from team fighting. It does translate into their siege capabilities. They will have to risk their positioning a bit more, especially into the Arthas of Fnatic. So you know the thought process for them is going to want to be diving past, trying to force the fight once more onto this Immortal. As you see Breeze flanking up above there on that Murden. He wants to see if they overextended that shrub and then get this all-in initiation.
I'm just blown away by how Sake has been playing this Kharazim. So aggressive, trying to make sure that he can give the reset to Reset and as well to having to go for the throw in Greymane.
The portal.
Here's the flank from Fnatic.
They're all ending here, trying to get the fight. They're able to take the portal on out, but on the backline we see Quacknick's actually dropping down. Reset is getting the resets again. This guy is just unstoppable. 4 members of Fnatic are down, and MVP Black claimed this keep.
They're going to claim this keep, and they may step even further forward. No, Medivh for 20 seconds. He'll have Leyline Seal when he comes back up, but this is core damage being put on by MVP Black, and yet again it's only Breeze here to try to stop what may be the inevitable.
80% and counting. It is not going to be stopped. MVP Black is going to take game number 3 here and take a lead over your defending world champions.
Every game they win, they look a little more confident every single time. This team has been waiting years for this grand finals, and they don't want to let anyone take what they feel is theirs.
It is amazing to believe that with even the dominance that we've seen of a team of MVP Black in the past, that they are now 1 game away from making Heroes of the Storm history by being the second global champion crowned ever, 2-time winner. We have never had that in Heroes of the Storm history, and now 1 game away. By no means is Fnatic out of this, though. We've seen them overcome far bigger opponents, far tougher situations than this, Gilly.
Fnatic still has a chance. Let's check back in with the analyst desk and see what they thought of Game 3.
The MVP train in full force now, and it seems going to be very difficult to actually slow that down. Wolf, it's looking powerful here for MVP.
I mean, Reset, if you give him an inch, he takes a mile. And I think that this has been kind of a trend that's continued throughout this tournament. This is not the first time he's had Ana being able to give him those nano boosts in those important team fights. I think that Fnatic is going to have to draft around this. Now, this map in particular is the best map for Li Ming because she has that poke, and even if you got your linebackers there in the front to block the damage, it doesn't go. It doesn't eventually end up being a win. You can block it for a while, but eventually Black wins that trade. They have 2 types of damage, and the team fights were incredible there.
I think the whole thing about what we've seen from Reset is Li Ming, and guess what? More Li Ming. So he's done really, really well. It's surprising because Li Ming really fell off in certain metas, and it just seems like Reset's like it doesn't matter. And again, it goes back to the Eastern Clash #2 when we talked to Rich about if you could name who the best player in the world is, other than yourself, who would it be? He said, my teammate, Reset.
His biggest problem was running out of mana. and pretty much everyone was dead by that time, so that's kind of okay.
Yeah.
We've seen those massive team fights where Reset absolutely popped off. Some of them were too graphic to show again in a replay.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so but I have 2 small little moments. I mean, for the most part, you know, we see these big fights. 2 small cool things I actually wanted to teach the Heroes of the Storm community. Quacknix has dropped very low right now, and he's the main damage dealer on the Immortal. So you actually see a cool portal play here, allowing Quacknix to gain some space alone with the Immortal. And you know, this was never meant to do anything except to buy time for Vala. So that was kind of a cool play, just thinking with portals and creating some space because you are forced to respond to it. Fnatic was unable to bring that kind of thing to bigger, more important team fights, but it was a cool thing. And we have another replay there. Again, a really good moment there as we go to the next replay. This is a great defense here by MVP Black, and they're really pushing the level 10 advantage here. Or rather, I should say, the lack of level 10 advantage by Fnatic. They recognize this is their moment. You see Karazim is actually gunning right for Vala, and it means that Breeze and... Oh, wrong thing, lol. That means that Breeze and Arthas need to defend. And look at Reset. He has been the biggest threat as we run this replay forward. When an Arcane Orb comes out, look at the instant reaction from Breeze and Wooby. And the orb comes out, they walk forward towards it because orbs deal more damage at greater range. They needed to peel for Vala here. So this is definitely something that was part of the strategy here for Fnatic, to block those shots as often as possible. But it's during Nana boosted Li Ming really that even they could not block. Absolutely amazing Ancestrals there by Fnatic in the later team fights, but it just wasn't enough.
I think a lot of it comes down to that spell damage, and a lot of it comes down to the Wave of Force that we saw. The Wave of Force really well placed, just displacing Fnatic's composition, moving Medivh out of shield range, for example. These were the moments that led to those first takedowns that explode with critical mass.
Well, gentlemen, I did get word that the next Battleground is ready here as MVP Black is 1 Battleground away from securing a championship, and it's going to be Fnatic taking us to Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Both teams very adept at this map. We've seen MVP Black first pick this map in several of their series. Fnatic no slouch on this. Very contrasting styles on this. We see a lot of Chromie play from Fnatic. We see all over the place with MVP Black in terms of what they want to run, everything from Tracer. Both teams have very similar drafts, I think, on this map at the core. But it's going to be fireworks on this map.
MVP 1 game away from claiming that trophy and the $500,000 that lay before them. Unless Fnatic can stop it. We're going into game number 4 here. Tomb of the Spider Queen, where Fnatic, in essence, built their legacy in Heroes of the Storm. Let's get it gone.
Very excited to see how this pans out. They are as close as they've ever been to a Blizzcon title. 3 years of this team, MVP Black. They've won so many tournaments, but not this one, not the most prestigious. And as we head into this, the big question is obviously going to be, will we see Chromie come into play? as that was one of the big factors in the series with Ballistics that Fnatic brought out here. So let's see if that wild card pick is going to come into play.
Now, one thing to remember is, you know, MVP Black fans will be rejoicing here, looking back at the last 3 games, recognizing that the only victory thus far for Fnatic was against the Specialist Triple Warrior single support comp. It looks like an experimental composition at this level by MVP Black, and they won the 2 other games. Right now, Black the big favorite to win this grand finals, and Fnatic is probably feeling the heavy pressure alongside with their fans here in the crowd and at home.
The Greymane is a heavy priority for Quacknix a lot of times. He does really well. It's probably his best hero, right up there with kind of his fall stat, but more meta right now is the Greymane. It almost feels like they're kind of daring them to go into the Vala style. And we saw Quacknix on that last game. It's still one of his better heroes, but it definitely takes away a form of control in terms of aggression, that kind of mixed style play that we'll see with a Chromie pick. Oh, man.
All right, so what does this mean? Stitches, hook, gorge, portal, hook, reel, and sinker. The abduction combination, the kidnap combo. Stitches, gorge, through the portal, massive displacement.
And this was a map where you have the forts up for a lot longer than other maps, so you have the fort up long enough to where, and oftentimes walls too, where you can actually get so much of that, whereas on other maps, if those fall down, you don't have really those zones to actually portal behind there. With the gorge, this is a very risky composition, it's a very all-in, but we very rarely see this in Korea, so I think this is a go-to by Fnatic basically saying, okay, we have this style really well fleshed out, and you won't necessarily know how to deal with it.
I will take the 3 Rice Krispie Squares if the next ban from MVP Black is Kel'Thas.
Really? Yeah, I mean, we've seen Dignitas and Fnatic run that, right? As a follow-up damage with the Gravity Lapse, as one of the few ranged assassins who actually possesses a stun in their base kit. The others being, I guess, if you count Tyrande, Raynor, maybe 1 or 2 others, Vala, Rain of Vengeance, but Kel'Thas in his base kit, in his base ability. So that could very well be.
I mean, obviously Malfurion has kind of been a staple with the Stitches as well, and with no supports locked in yet on the side of Fnatic and MVP Black having both of theirs locked, the Malfurion could be a go-to ban. If Fnatic wants to try to run that as their follow-up stun here, or root in this case, I should say. Let's see if Black wants to go to that.
I like the Muradin ban a lot because we've seen Muradin obviously rise in this tournament. Although with MVP Black not picking that, opting for the Rhaegar Tassadar, that shows me that they've got something up their sleeve as well. That's one of the combos that we see in here. But I now wonder if we might see a potential Stukov here. If we do see Gorge, one of the ways to make sure the biggest counter towards a hook Gorge onto a Stitches is simply to hard engage onto a Stitches or use a force wall. But if you have that flailing swipe option to create space, give yourself an opportunity to get those picks, that could be in play here.
I mean, sometimes also the silence can obviously stop a Tassadar from dimensional shifting, for example, out of these types of combos. So with supports kind of choked out here a little bit for Fnatic, I absolutely think this could be a support to go to here, but I think it also depends on what DPS Fnatic wants to run.
It could also be Brightwing and or Falstad.
Exactly, yeah. We did see them run that card. It's not exactly the most amazing comp, for this map.
Yes, exactly.
But it's still got a lot of power. We saw it being able to secure kills on heroes that you don't normally see being secured after that combo.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if we also just get the Falstad again. Instead, we get a Quacknix Genji, because I'm pretty sure that will be, obviously, or excuse me, Quacknix Genji Schweppy going to be on the Medivh.
Right, so we only don't have the support yet. MVP Black already has 2, so this is the safest one to save till later.
Yeah, I mean, Brightwing is very strong here still, and I think that Uther is also a great pick. Uther has the follow-up stun for Stitches. You have the ability to empower those Dragon Blades. So you kind of have choices here now for Fnatic in terms of what you can follow up with the Stitches. Poly, very strong here, so I think those are 2 great options. And whoa, picking the Chromie into Fnatic is MVP Black.
But here's the thing, I'm honestly terrified for Fnatic's draft here. And the way that they made their name on this map was with a lot of wave clear and some really epic long games against Dignitas. They have terrible wave clear with this composition. Genji's is bad, Medivh's is bad. You're not really getting the clear. And when you have web weavers pushing against you, and you look at the wave clear of Greymane, Rhaegar, Tassadar, Johanna alone, that is ultimate battleground control, Tassadar dimensional shift, Johanna with the iron skin, a lot of control, a lot of difficult ways to get on this. Oh, by the way, Chromie, you're not going to hit her with the hook because she has some pretty long range abilities. So I'm actually terrified for Fnatic, and it feels very one-dimensional in a sense that you don't have that follow-up option of wave clear, things like that. I'm actually really scared with Fnatic's draft right now.
Yeah, and you know, I think they went into that dimension with the first 2 picks, and a large part of this game will be how well does Fnatic perform pre-level 10.
So that'd be the Ana.
Solo support Ana.
I suppose, I think this is the first time we're seeing solo support Ana technically in terms of healing, right? Medivh is a pseudo support in that he supports teammates and things like that, but it feels to me that it's almost wholly unnecessary that Fnatic would take this style of draft. They've beaten MVP Black in straight-up games before. I don't feel like this was necessary. On the same note, though, I feel like this game could get out of control for Fnatic. We see some good early game hooks. We've got the crowd behind them, for example, and I think this could swing if we have that explosive start. But with MVP Black preparing for this, banning the Malfurion, for example, Ana sleep, not really a reliable follow-up stun, I'm not very confident with this draft either for Fnatic.
Well, sleep is half a second stun. You can draw it out if you don't damage the target, so that's cool. But also, you can sleep dart into hook. Now, MVP Black's positioning has been sublime. So I don't think it's going to be that easy, particularly if someone gets slept.
Yes.
How can
I think it's sleep.
Yeah, then someone else can go stand in front to block the follow-up hook. So I think MVP Black has the tools to deal with this, but we got to sell what Fnatic is doing here as well.
And Fnatic, they're going to have to be aggressive, not only from the start of the game, but throughout the entire game. That's the only way this works, is by getting the picks. I just think they're going to have a difficult time, especially with the composition that we see drafted from MVP Black.
Time to go into it. Game number 4 as Fnatic tries to battle back and keep the hopes alive here in this grand final. MVP Black is 1 game away from becoming our world champions.
2 explosive compositions for what could be the final game of the grand finals. Dread, what do you think of the comps?
I feel like we have the Medivh on the other side of the table, and that is going to be something, again, like we saw in the last game, that the members of Fnatic are going to very much have to rely on here. But I do side a little bit with the analyst test, maybe not as to the same degree as them, but MVP Black's draft here is a bit scary, and the members of Fnatic are really going to have to find a way to overcome that here.
Well, time to rally for Fnatic if they want to go to the 5th and final game. We're headed into game number 4. Tomb of the Spider Queen with MVP Black up 2-1.
They need all of your cheers here in North America because they're 1 game away from getting knocked out. It is Fnatic in the blue, where we have Breeze on Stitches. Genji, played by Quacknix. Dahaka will be played by Wubby. Medivh will be played by Schwimpy. And as always on support, Smex on Ana. Let's hear it for Fnatic!
Their opponents in the red, 1 game away from the championship. They've always dreamed of Sake playing Tassadar, Reset on Chromie, Tist on Johanna. We've got Kyocha playing Rhaegar, and finally Rich on his Greymane. Give it up for MVP Black! A house divided in here.
Torn. Waning situation for the members of MVP Black, mirroring that of the feel here of the crowd, going with a 2-1-2 to be able to deal with the scary rotations that the members of Fnatic provide here, with the Stitches threat, the Medivh rotation threat, and more importantly, that Sleep Dart kill opportunity available here. I do appreciate the laning situation, though. It's going to really pull away from the dominant laning phase you would assume Fnatic may be aiming for here on a map like Toon.
Now, of course, Fnatic are hoping to win this game hook, gorge, and sinker, but the Stitches still also provides a lot of wave clear, especially with the slam build. I'm sorry, I had to do it, okay?
It got to the point. It was good, it was good. I honestly, to the point where I didn't even think of anything you said beyond that point. I was just like, that was a nice meme. I appreciate that one. Thank you very much, Gilly.
You're welcome. But yeah, he does have awesome wave clear with the slam build that he has.
Yeah, it will help make up for maybe the lack there with the Johanna, the Tassadar. Wait a minute here, Breeze out a bit too far. Kadev's gonna pull them back in. MVP is going to find themselves here first blood in game number 4.
MVP Black feeling very good about that. Anything that they can do to start the momentum train early for this game. All they want to do is keep staying in the heads of Fnatic as best they can, continuing their rotations up. Reset also will be trying to stack up the Sandblast.
She's such a good hero to use in defensive strategy. She really kind of, Kuromi came into the meta whenever the 1-3 laning situation, heavy tri-lane, the Holy Trinity meta was very much a thing. And she's so very good at defending and more importantly, stalling out on top of those turn-in points here. Fnatic is a team that is very clever, especially with that Medivh to kind of cycle between the 2 turn-in points. But when you have such an amazing range like Reset there onto the Kuromi, I assume that this is going to be a far more difficult turn-in phase than you would normally have if, again, you have the Medivh on your roster.
Well, it was Fnatic, right, who started using the Kuromi a lot on this very battleground against an Ariel, punishing the lack of cleanse that she had with Temporal Loop. And I have continued to be surprised by the respect of strategies that Fnatic have brought in and the strategies that have been Fnatic's cup of tea for a long time. Things like Kuromi now being played by Reset, even the globals that we saw from Game 2 for MVP Black, a strategy that Fnatic are just known so well for.
And I feel like that's kind of why so many casters, so many talents, so many people behind the scenes in competitive heroes were kind of, you know, taking a minute to show concern towards this boot camp that most European teams did have within the Korean region. Aren't you going to be teaching them how to play the game, to play your very play style? And I don't think that that is the reasoning we see that adjustment here from Korea and MVP Black, but it is why everybody was so concerned. You never want to teach your opponent. If you think you're better, you never want to give them the, you know, the top tier strats.
No, but when we talked to the European teams, they felt like that wasn't the case with the boot camps, that the MVP Black and the rest of the Korean teams, nice helping hand there, were the better meta at the time. They had the stronger meta, and that helped Fnatic and the rest of the European teams be able to adapt to that, or at least know what was coming their way. But here still, MVP Black is such a force to be reckoned with. They've only lost 1 game. That was the 1 game, though, to Fnatic. So Fnatic can do this. They can try to tie it up and take us to Game 5.
And again, the creative laning situation that MVP Black has developed here with this 2-1-2, it is very difficult for Fnatic to really take a minute to figure out how to keep up with the transitions, either the pressure that they are applying between mid and top or the turn-in. They're just seconds behind the transitions of MVP Black. And this is on home turf. This is the map here that Fnatic made the climb. I say it every single time, but Europe is far better at Tomb of the Spider Queen than every other part of the world. And the Fnatic was the one who brought it really to that region that seems to have mastered it here.
So what's the place where they chose to make their last stand? With everything down to this 1 game, Fnatic chose Tomb of the Spider Queen as a way to tie up the series yet again, but it'll be MVP Black who gets the first Web Weaver phase, getting those 50 gems turned in.
Not bad siege for MVP Black here with their composition. They do want to kind of focus on maybe getting some of those kills because Kuromi, she's not necessarily the best when it comes to sieging up. She is very good at scaring you off of it. She's very good at poking you off of it, but her raw damage in DPS is not necessarily there to be able to make it happen. All the heroes very good in that wave clear. So I would assume MVP Black, when we do see them collaborate here into the mid lane, if anything, is just going to be getting raw damage output or avoiding the fight and trying to make sure that they, or excuse me, avoiding the objective and trying to make sure that they get a couple of picks.
Rich, fairly low, was scared off momentarily from protecting this Web Weaver, but now that he has the double support behind him, he will at least go back into it with the aggression, but Fnatic do force them off again.
Another pre-cleanse there. Used to be able to make sure he stays alive. Keep in mind that nobody on the side of Fnatic is actually dealing with the Johanna split pressure, that we are watching them commit a 4-man to deal with a very non-threatening composition or excuse me, 3-man from the members of MVP Black. They make the transfer up here. Schwimpy's in a bad spot. No portal and another kill here for MVP, but they're not done.
No, they are not. They've got the body blocks down, but Rich is stuck between a Breeze and a Quacknix. He's probably going to go down, but what damage can he put out? He does fall at the end. Sake trying to grab the gems and get out of dodge.
Get out of dodge there. Reset's able to throw out a couple of spells there to zone off. So very close there, the dimensional shift able to make it out. And now a window of opportunity for the members of Fnatic to focus on getting those gems turned in. But they're going to hold off here
And I want to bring it back to, you know, Team Freedom versus MVP Black specifically, turn it in this exact same situation. And if we see the members of Fnatic commit to that, you know, MVP will round their heroics. They'll rid of the Web Weaver phase. Very, very effective here. So expect a patient next couple of minutes for Fnatic until they can achieve those heroics.
Patient, but probably fairly aggravated, because losing Schwimpy when they did reset the Master's Touch tax, and that is never a place that Medivh wants to be in. It was fairly early on in that, but it is still a sore point to a team that is behind in this series. MVP Black get heroic abilities, and they're stacking up gems for the next turn-in.
Where do we see the members of Fnatic try and make this transition? Where are they going to try and make it? Is it going to be through bottom here, or do we want to make it up onto top? MVP is going to pressure out through mid. At this point in time, I'm honestly rather surprised that MVP hasn't been more aggressive with their 10s. We talk about how they never seem to waste a mercenary camp and such, but they didn't even need this mercenary camp. With how big of an advantage this was, the fact that top and mid is just now going down does seem, again, the respect is very much there for both sides of the battlefield.
Well, they are getting the siege in now. They'll take out the fort, and that's without the secondary turn-in, which means they can focus their efforts elsewhere. Once they do get those gems in, Hook is out, no one caught. But heroics are here for Fnatic. It is the Gorge for Stitches.
We're yet to see if Schwimpy maybe wants to mix it up and go with something else here. Polybomb has been a choice here, only selected by North America. I don't feel like there's enough of an argument. Maybe as like a follow-up to try and get the CC before Johanna can hit the Iron Skin and walk away. I'm pretty confident here he'll be going in for that. We do have those heroics, so the Web Weaver phase here. Who's going to get the turn-in? Webby single-handedly can achieve this turn-in phase if he is left alone.
Tassadar is at the turn-in point at the top. Webby starts, but it's too late. MVP Black with the secondary Web Weaver phase about to begin, and they've already taken down 2 forts. Only 1 left for Fnatic.
They are escalating the pace of this game very, very fast with that structural damage between Web Weaver phase 1 and 2. Again, we assume that this bottom fort to go down, and with the transition available now, because that mid fort is dead, MVP can really make Fnatic always respond to them from this point on. Fnatic needs to try and force past that. There they go. They're going to use the Gorge. Blessed Shield out the Condemn. The body blocks from Rich, but he gets through.
He still got through the portal just at the end of the Gorge. Kyoto will fall. Fnatic get the kill with the Kidnapper style of strategy, but there are still Web Weavers pushing.
The Web Weavers are there. The members, though, of Fnatic can maybe transfer out. We see Dahanka already worrying about top. That bottom fort is inevitably going to drop for Fnatic, kill or not. But that was a big win for the members of Fnatic. Instead of just losing a fort, we could likely would have seen a minimum of, you know, half a key front wall up onto mid, and likely a majority of it there on bottom.
It is so well done, though, from MVP Black. They very nearly kept Stitches from being able to get to the portal, and we saw why some of the picks that came out after the Stitches pick were chosen by MVP Black. Things like slowing Sands, trying to slow him down from getting to the portal. Of course, Johanna, who can Blessed Shield and pull him back in. Everything that they can do to keep Stitches from getting to that portal behind the gate. So what was the damage done? The final fort fell. MVP Black pushing out all waves, and with their 13 advantage in full view of Medivh, they head to the boss.
They're going to pick up the boss. 117 gems in the bank of Fnatic. Wubby will be able to turn that in 2 more seconds down on bottom. The hook lands on to Chromie. Cleanse was forced there, but ineffective. Wubby will get this Web Weaver phase. The members of MVP trying to capitalize on the lack of man advantage for Fnatic, but they're not going to get it.
Rich dives out, Leyline Seal on everyone else, trying to keep Rich alive, but using his ability to get out, he's just fine. MVP Black are like, fine, if you want to take this fight, we have the 13 advantage, and you have everything to lose in the gems.
But if MVP Black loses this fight, they're going to lose a lot more than just a couple of members. Hook over the wall, lands onto Tis, dropping the Iron Skin. Wubby in a bad spot. He dodges there, but it ends up going down. MVP Black taking the fight, and more importantly, decisively winning it there.
They get that 1 kill and turn their attention to the Web Weavers. They didn't get the boss, but they will ensure that Fnatic essentially wasted so many gems. But the important thing for Fnatic, though, is that they only lost 1 person, and they still have a lot of their gems left to be able to hopefully get a turn-in after this. But the big deal is that MVP Black took that fight so far forward and then cleared out so fast that the waves are still in a place where they can still control the turn-ins after this Web Weaver falls.
They may even be able to control more than that if they want to make their way up towards that top boss. As you see, MVP Black is still a ways away from that turn-in on their own. And as you brought to light there, the fact that there was only 1 member lost for Fnatic, it's so, different than every other map. Normally we see that one kind of kill into the mid game and you go, you're going to have a hard time. The death timer is going to be a problem. But legitimately, because you carry the objective on you, on Tomb of the Spider Queen, that death is sometimes it's GG even at 13 minutes into the game. So very calculated here for Fnatic. Hook over the wall into Rich. He's going to be portaled through.
Slowing Sands, but there's the portal still stepping forward. Drops him right on the other side of the gate. Good night, Rich.
The drag in isolation onto Rhaegar too. Leyline Seal's going to keep the members of MVP Black locked down. Kyoto drops. There they go through the portal, ringing it right back in. This is going to be 3 kills for Fnatic as they are down swinging.
And Wubby zoning everyone else away. No one gets to help Tis survive the onslaught of Fnatic. They get a 3rd kill and confidently step toward the boss.
This is going to be the boss for Fnatic. Not alone Chromie nor Tassadar have the ability to be able to stop this one. Fnatic then can back this with a major Webweaver phase. I really appreciate the fact that they're willing to drop Wubby back here. It tells that they are looking far more into the future and what they're going to make happen here with the Webweaver phase. But on the note of the future, there is still a major problem. Experience is heavily in favor of MVP Black, and this window of power spike for Fnatic is coming at the same time that MVP Black is hitting what most consider an unwinnable trade, a 16 into 50.
Yeah, Fnatic will have to play cautiously around this point. They absolutely need to get the siege going with this Webweaver phase and with the boss, but they have to respect that. Potential 16 of MVP Black. Webweaver started this boss just now at the towers in front of Fort and taking a lot of damage from MVP Black, who feel totally fine just defending this in full force, since they knew with the Giants and with the camp that Webby was dealing with, the rest of Fnatic had to go all the way back to help escort these Webweavers up.
And that's why wave clear is so important on a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen. If you don't have it, all it takes is that mercenary to push against you, and you're like, guys, we need to turn in now. This is the time. And you go, where are my Webweavers at? Oh, all the way stuck back in the base because we haven't been able to enable them here. But Fnatic is now ready to siege up into the mid lane with their very, very powerful late game Webweavers. But Tis trying to force this pre-16. They have the 16 talents here. Members of Fnatic might have to force the ley line. Blessed Shield goes in.
There is a Gorge target inside the belly of Breeze. He'll come out and take damage from the Swift Strike. He lives. Barely gets away, and says they're healing, I'm back up.
And now the members of MVP are looking to turn it. Another portal is allowing Fnatic to get the full retreat. They will be able to pick up the 16s, but it does mean that a lot of another gem phase, another Webweaver phase for Fnatic just leaves all structures up. We have not seen a single fort go down on the side of MVP Black.
Yeah, there's been so much give and take for what Fnatic, the composition they're playing is. They put down the portal just trying to get anything, a drag from Wubby, a hook from Breeze, but MVP Black are avoiding that and still control this battleground, even though Fnatic has had some momentum in this game, in Game 4 on Tomb.
Breeze is getting stuck in the slowing sands. It's going to force a very easy portal there. 7 more seconds towards the Gorge opportunity to even be a thing. Damage onto Smex there. Tis trying to get the Condemn in. Can he make it out? Rich goes for the throw, but he gets Gorge.
He is Gorge, and he is way deep in the base. Blessed Shield gets Rich back out in time. Breeze still taking a lot of damage. Johanna goes down, but so does Breeze. That's a 1-for-1.
Reset seems to be making it rain there from above and able to get that damage out. But Fnatic is not letting up. It's so amazing to watch these teams. When the first person dies, they just wait until you go a little bit too aggressive and immediately fight back, be able to get the turn here. Fnatic has done an amazing job of holding on to their gems. They are still in a fine position to be able to try and somehow turn this game around. I say that after what feels like 2 wasted Webweaver phases. But MVP is still winning into the experience avenue. More importantly, they're winning in the structure avenue. Every Webweaver phase is more valuable for them than Fnatic's. And they now are grounding what is going to be a potential next Webweaver phase. Fnatic has not been able to force really any fight whatsoever outside of this Gorge hook combo, and every single time outside of the very first one, it seems like MVP Black is just getting better and better at dealing with this strategy.
Even if they don't deal with it, it's just one that's lost. And because there was such a lead for MVP Black, they're able to just maintain the lead that they have had. But hopefully for Fnatic, now that they have Leyline Seal and they can be out on the battleground a bit more, maybe start to get some of those gems dropped off so they're not as afraid to get into the engagements. They can do some things more like with a Leyline Seal. I wanted to point out that Fnatic, we see now why Ana was chosen with this strategy, as we've seen Nano Boost be used on Stitches so that he has the cooldown of Hook up faster so that they can rely on Breeze to make the plays for the team.
We see a play here. That's Tisk. That's a tough target to get a kill here. Iron Skin's going to be dropped. Condemned to pull them in.
MVP are coming in.
They're going to get the full collapse. Fnatic now has to retreat. Chromie throwing out the damage. Good juke there. There's another hook.
But it's on to Tassadar. Always got that dimensional shift when necessary.
But in the top, Wubby turned in his gem, so that is a sigh of relief for Fnatic. There were a lot of gems sitting on our Dahaka.
But there are only a few more gems necessary for MVP Black to have enough for their very own turn-in. They're going to be able to round that in. Tis turns in 6 more, now 7 away. Fnatic moving down below, trying to force this. They end up getting the turn-in on top. Very big win there for Fnatic to be able to get that.
With the torts that are still up for MVP Black, this could be a big swing in experience for Fnatic. They're able to take those down. But with Gorge coming offline in just a few seconds, we know what Fnatic, the play they'll be trying to make.
I don't know if it's one that they're going to be trying at this point. I feel like they have to. This is another Web Weaver phase going down. This is the only really, you know, it's the best opportunity is when your opponent is going to be stuck around these structures. And we've seen it over and over again. It's just finding a way to make it to where MVP Black can't get the response that they've been able to over the last few times. Even so much so that MVP Black, they're just not even going to risk it as an option. Maybe try and force their own hand here by taking this fight.
Yeah, Tis loves being able to keep control of Breeze because as long as he's doing that, his team is safe from Breeze and the way that Fnatic wants to engage. One Web Weaver down. Top getting closer and closer to the keep structures of MVP Black. But Fnatic has taken an experience lead for, I believe, the first time in this game.
Fnatic also has enough gems to get another turn-in phase. They've done, again, so well at collecting themselves and making sure that they do not lose enough gems if MVP Black is successful with these skirmishes. Bottom Web Weaver is still alive, but I wouldn't put too much concern into it, as we do know the boss will be up very, very soon after these Web Weavers go down, and that might be the beginning of the end for these teams, whoever manages to pick that up for himself.
There he is in all his glory. Fnatic just about to 20. Do we get Hungry Hungry Stitches?
I can't tell if that would be a better or worse approach to it, because then you essentially are going for more than one kill by isolating together. Maybe you can go with like a ley line and then you just spit all the rest of the members out and you throw it out immediately after. We'll find out here for Fnatic as they're trying to get this turn in. Another Web Weaver phase is about to descend.
The crowd roaring, getting louder and louder every time Fnatic is able to stay in this game. And now, for the first time, they have a lead. They get to 21st.
But at this point of the game, if they make one mistake into this team fight, if MVP Black is successful, they can still turn it around and end the game because they've opened up that early game sieging pressure they were able to put out. Fnatic cannot falter if they're going to push us here to game number 5.
Schwimpy giving vision to Stitches so they can try and get the hook Gorge play that would start a catalyst to end the game and take us to game 5 of the grand finals.
MVP have 20 themselves. Drag is used onto Sake. It's only going to draw a dimensional shift. Infinite Archon is here. Great defensive 20 power spike for MVP Black. Things get sketchy for a moment.
Indestructible is going to be a huge tool for Tis now, as he has been taking a lot of damage from Fnatic to be up in the front, trying to be the target to be gorged and taken for the team, while the rest can follow up behind and bail him out.
Fnatic seems like they're making a beeline here up towards this boss. They now do not have enough gems for that immediate turn-in after the last 3. Not the case here for MVP Black. Not going to go ahead and start it. This camp will be revealed by Fnatic. Schwimpy hovering up above. Not as many sprays as we've seen from Schwimpy in the past, but you know, I understandably so. You know, you maybe don't want to be flexing too hard in front of MVP.
Dread, this is serious business right now. You don't have time for sprays. You gotta be giving vision to Stitches.
Rich
is inside, Leyline seal.
And Blessed goes down to try and get the peel, but I don't think Tassadar has enough shielding to keep him up. Archon's gonna be popped. Does he get the disengage? No! Fnatic, they get him!
Drag takes him down. Wubby making the plays at the end of the day. Now we've got Quacktix with the Dragon Blade, but Sake staying strong with that Twilight Archon. Breeze disengaging with the rest of Fnatic, so only the 1 kill for Fnatic.
The members of MVP Black are going to use their gems to get this turn in and stall out the death timer of Rich. 41 seconds till he's going to be back, and that will be very achievable here with this Web Weaver phase. It's just what happens after that is really the biggest problem here. Once the Web Weaver is clear, there's a boss up, both teams will be just barely kissing a turn-in opportunity. Nice juke there.
Everything goes down. Portal, no. We've got slowing sands, we've got time trap. Don't follow me. Don't mess with the chromie.
So as this stalls out here, the members of Fnatic just clearing them as quick as they possibly can. It's such a great defensive strategy from the side of MVP Black. It does feel a bit painful as they put so much time and effort into the Web Weaver phase. They're even going to poke out here, not let this be a free clear, even though Rich has just spawned back in the base. Fnatic knows that this is not an even trade by any means.
Time trap, but the force of will trying to save Schwimpy from a lot of the reset damage. Schwimpy very understanding of just how much damage a Chromie can shell out, being a Chromie player himself.
Gilly, they're almost tied. They're almost tied in gems at this point. It's just who, do you defend the boss? Do you defend the turn-in? This is going to be very, very close. The decision making, specifically with Tassadar, his ability to reveal and defend is huge because he's one of the best here in this game. Wait a minute though, Breeze out a bit too far for the hook.
Look at Tist, he's got the flank now, going after Breeze after that too, not allowing this play to start happening. Rich is dragged away, goes in with the cleanse.
Condemn interrupts the brush stomp. There he goes. He's got the passive. He's got the heal. He buys a bit of time. Force of will. The portal. Kyoto's is trying to chase down Schwimpy.
Ley line is out.
The minions.
The minions. The bruisers take him out.
For
the reset goes down too. It's a 1-for-1.
It's a 1-for-1, but enough gems available for the members of Fnatic if they want to try and force this reset. Or excuse me, MVP Black doesn't care though. They're going to try and get this invade. Quacknix goes in trying to scare them off, but unable
to do so. They're going to pick up the night camp. And where does Fnatic try and force this? They're getting pressure again. Tist gets a nice condemn. Archon's going to be used. Infinite Archon, keep in mind. Breeze is in a bad spot. The body blocks.
Look at these body blocks. Tist on top of Breeze. Has to use Hardened Shield. They don't care. MVP Black doesn't care. They take out Stitches. 63 seconds without the frontliner, the primary frontliner of Fnatic.
And Sake is going to be able to keep that Archon alive. But beyond this keep, they are going to go here towards the core.
They are going for the core. They take out Smexy. This might just be an MVP Black getting on the core. They have wanted this for so long as they continue to bring it down 50% and falling. Blizzcon, your world champions MVP Black!
In 2015, this team was denied. 2016, they feel like they were denied. But this year, Gilly, it is anything but the case.
MVP Black has always felt like the rightful kings of BlizzCon. And now their dynasty is to be the first ever HGC Finals champions.
Where do you even begin with this squad? The most dominant team in the world for the longest time. Been showing many struggles throughout summer. They get Rich back. They recollect themselves as a group. And then they point their aim towards BlizzCon and they execute when necessary.
MVP Black, BlizzCon champions! HGC Finals champions!
BlizzCon, give it up for MVP Black! Your 2017 Heroes of the Storm Global Champion! And now, please help me welcome to the stage Heroes of the Storm Game Director Alan DeBeery and Heroes of the Storm Esports Lead Sam Braithwaite.
Those were some amazing games. That was absolutely incredible. I think that's why I love esports so much, that you really get to see players be playing the game at the absolute highest level. I think the dream is that if I keep watching enough of these games, one day I'll play like Rich, but I don't think that's been happening so far. But actually, first off, I want to congratulate Fnatic for the amazing run that they had through this tournament. And of course, I want to offer a special congratulations to our HGC champions, MVP Black. And finally, I think that this was a fantastic ending to our first HGC season, and I'm incredibly excited for next year with all the improvements that are coming in both HGC and the game. Thank you.
So, a year ago this week, I was on this stage to announce the Heroes Global Championship, and we promised guaranteed competition as well as regular prizing for all of our professional players. We were hoping that this added infrastructure would elevate the level of competition and really take Heroes of the Storm esports to a new level. I would like to take a moment real quick to just give a shout out and a thanks and a round of applause to all the teams and players at home that have spent the last year training, hoping to be here, hoping to be lifting this trophy on the stage. So let's give it up for everybody else. Now, MVP Black. This has been a long time coming, and it is my honor to say that you guys are going to go down in the history books of Heroes of the Storm esports. And it is my pleasure to congratulate you as the first and only HGC champions. Let's give it up one more time for MVP Black.
Blizzcon, this has been an amazing tournament. Thanks for being with us here in person and online. On behalf of the cast, the crew, these incredible teams, 2017 has been amazing, but 2018, you ain't seen nothing yet. Give it up for MVP Black!